Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Stronger Than Steel podcast, hosted by yours truly, John Keir, and my friend, Austin Davidson.
Heyo.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. We had an interesting conversation in our group chat that we're both involved in this morning. I take it based on what you were saying that you didn't get to see at least the second half of at least the later part of the game last night, that a thrilling finish between the Colts and Ravens.
Yeah, I fell asleep before the game ended. I think I just saw the Ravens score their first touchdown in the comeback to make it 25-9. So then I had fallen asleep.
So we'll have plenty of time to get into that game, but how surprised were you when you woke up and found out that the Ravens had won that game?
I wasn't very. Honestly, I smelled that comeback as soon as I saw Xavier Rhodes leave the game. I'm like, bro, how are you this unhealthy? They didn't have Kenny Moore coming in, so now they had literally backup cornerbacks to play against. And then on top of it, their kicker was hurt, Rigoberto Sanchez. Rigoberto Sanchez is their punter.
Yeah, he's their punter.
And Rodrigo Blankenship. There we go. I couldn't think of his.
I wanted to say Roberto Aguayo, but I know that's not true.
Yeah, so Blankenship was injured and he missed 2 kicks and 3 if you count the PAT. But so it's
one was blocked, by the way. Calais Campbell blocked one. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I saw that too. So I'm not super surprised with what I knew before I fell asleep.
Well, it brought to a conclusion one of the more interesting weeks, I think, in recent memory. You touched on the kickers, kind of punctuated by a whole bunch of bad play by NFL kickers in this one. But luckily the Steelers didn't have to worry about that. But we're now 5 weeks into this NFL season. Just kind of curious as to, it always feels like it goes by so fast, but are you at a point right now where is anything major surprising you right now? Are you kind of where you are? Have you really changed much from what you thought about this entire league going into the year?
Not really. I feel pretty much like everything is about what I expected. Maybe the Chiefs are a little bit surprised that they're sitting at 2-3. That's pretty low. I think at worst I would have expected them to be 3-2. Not far off, obviously, but yeah, I think them being 2-3 is a bit of a surprise. I knew their defense was bad, but their offense isn't as crazy as it has been. Patrick Mahomes has an Achilles heel, apparently, we're seeing, because he's thrown 6 interceptions so far this year. That's how much he threw the entire year last year. So their offense isn't playing well enough to outplay how bad their defense is. So I think they could get it together, but that's a surprise. And then I'm trying to think if there's any other surprises.
I can think of a big surprise for us because we both had this team in the Super Bowl, and that's Washington, the slow start that they've had. And I know that they've had issues with quarterback. They now have Taylor Heineke, but really the biggest problem with that team has been the defense and not the offense.
Yeah, I think that we both expected Washington's defense to be a lot better, and they're just not doing good. I have money on that team on how they perform. I have draft picks in one of my fantasy leagues on how they perform, and it's kind of disappointing. They have to finish with 2 more wins than the Giants, so I still have more than a chance with. Daniel Jones is dead. Saquon Barkley is also dead. Most of their
what a freak injury that was, by the way.
Yeah.
Did you see that Barkley injury?
I did, yeah. It just kind of rolled up on his ankle. He was just walking around on the play and just walked into someone and his ankle got rolled up. So, yeah, that's tough. But yeah, so I still have a chance. They just had to get 2 more wins than the Giants, but kind of sad that I bet all that stuff on it. And it's I'm hoping when Ryan Fitzpatrick gets back, they get a little bit better. But Heineke hasn't been the problem. Like you said, it's been mostly the defense.
And that's not to say Heineke's been perfect, because he plays a lot like Fitzpatrick does, but I think the point you're getting across is that Fitzpatrick going in there isn't going to make a big difference because they were playing pretty similarly to each other, or Heineke was playing similarly to the way Fitzpatrick normally plays.
Yeah, how do you expect him to play? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, with all that said, the Steelers managed to pull through and won their second game of the season on Sunday, defeating the Denver Broncos by a score of 27-19. A much-needed win. Certainly a lot of things went better in this game, but it wasn't without its heart-fluttering moments and, clutch your pearls type of situations as the Steelers hung on for dear life at the very end, despite having been in control of this game pretty much from the outset. And they needed an interception at the death by James Pierre to sort of secure this one. But looking back on this one, certainly a quality win, and one that I think lays the groundwork for how the team is going to have to succeed going forward. And time will tell if it's a red herring or if it's actually the way forward for this team. But regardless, in a vacuum, this was a very important win, and the Steelers seized the opportunity in front of them.
Yeah, it was good. It was a really solid win. I liked what I saw from the team for the most part, and we did get to learn more about the team in this game because Drew Lock didn't play, Teddy Bridgewater did. So it's a pretty solid game. I thought that they played it really well. I thought they did a good job against what they had to do. And yeah, we're looking to go face the Russell Wilson-less Seattle next week.
Yeah, so before we get into the game, some housekeeping and a little bit of news and notes to get to first with the Steelers. The big bit of injury news regarding Pittsburgh is that of Juju Smith-Schuster. Midway through the second quarter, he took an end around and got hit pretty hard in the shoulder by Kareem Jackson, who's barreling down on him. And Juju, for his entire career, has bounced up off of those and has doled out punishment just as much as he's received it. But unfortunately, crumpled to the ground and was quite clearly in some visible pain, and was ruled out pretty quickly. And it was announced the following day that he was going to have to get season-ending shoulder surgery. So we may very well have seen Juju Smith-Schuster's final snaps with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and unfortunately for him, after turning down longer deals with other teams, he had bet on himself to try to get a bigger deal after this year, and that will most likely not come to fruition. I mean, who knows? The cap is going up, and he might be able to get a little bit more term than maybe he would have thought, but there's no way to chalk up a season-ending injury as something other than negative.
Yeah, I can't picture him getting really much more than like $8 million a year, like $9 million a year after the injury. He hadn't really gotten the chance to show much this year. I mean, he showed that he could make separation on certain plays, but hadn't really put up the statistics to back it. I know NFL teams are a little bit more, they look more past the stats and the box score, so I still think there's a chance he pulls $9 million still, but definitely not like top tier wide receiver money, which just hurts this. It might help the Steelers, might hurt them. They might be able to re-sign him, but I guess we'll see after the season what ends up happening. I still think he goes to Kansas City, even though Kansas City has bigger issues.
Yeah, so we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. Smith-Schuster's contract voids 5 days after the Super Bowl. I think I think it would be kind of stupid for him to not at least test the market, but we'll see when we get there. But for now, looking back at his career with the Steelers, one of the tougher receivers that I've seen in terms of the way that he's played the game since Hines Ward, and he got compared to Hines a lot, and sometimes I thought the comparisons weren't quite valid because they played in somewhat different eras and slightly different positions, but the body of work and the way that they played the game with that physical that physical brand, that toughness, willing to make the tough catches, and steadfast, hardy blocker. A player that I've enjoyed watching. I haven't always agreed with the way that he presents himself off the field. I think he's gotten himself into bad situations with the whole speeding situation a few years ago being an example. But, he exudes class, and, all that aside, I think he gets picked on a lot for the whole branding thing that he does off the field. And I had a pretty passionate tweet that I had on the podcast account the other day, which basically just said this is why guys do stuff like that, because nothing is guaranteed. You're not guaranteed a play, and when you take a chance to bet on yourself and it goes wrong like it did for Juju, it's nice to have something to back it up. So bottom line, I feel bad that it might end this way, but still, I'll, if he doesn't play in a Steelers uniform again, I'll remember him for being a really solid receiver and a guy that whose career didn't end in Pittsburgh, I feel like, the way it should have.
Yeah, I think he should have had a better going out, but hopefully it's on his last. I know some people are going to be ready to wave him out the door. Others are going to be crying that he's gone. I feel like it's that controversial with Steelers Nation how they feel about him, but I think that
I just don't get why it's so. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just don't get why it's so controversial. I mean, we're at a point where him doing that nice thing for that woman and that family at that Giant Eagle last week before the game, people are so warped where they're saying that was like staged. Like, are we really that? Like, that's like Facebook level stuff. Like, it's insane.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I'm gonna remember him fondly. If he leaves, I am rooting for him. So I think he deserves better. Personally, for his final year, I really think he's gonna ball out. The NFL is so low on him that I think that if he goes to a good team, he's just gonna ball out. I think with Patrick Mahomes, he's gonna be back at a 1,000-yard receiver again, and everyone's gonna be like, "Whoa, where did that come from? I thought he was bad," and it was just because he was with us being used like a tight end or running back. So I wish him the best.
Yeah, so with that being the case, this was looked at as the top, I guess, position group for the Steelers going into the year, and losing one of their biggest contributors in Smith-Schuster is going to have to be offset by more playing time from James Washington. And I think you would probably agree, but the way it's looking like, especially with the way Chase Claypool played the majority of his snaps in the slot once Smith-Schuster went out, Claypool shifts from the Z to the slot, and Washington goes in at the Z, and that's the transition with now either Ray McLeod or Eric Ebron being utilized as a backup slot option or number 2 slot option depending on the personnel package.
I think it totally makes sense. I mean, we saw Claypool dominate from that slot position. He got matched up in... It kind of makes sense when you think about it. I mean, he's been struggling to create separation, so matching him up in the slot, where he might end up on a linebacker occasionally, is going to help him create separation because he's going to be a much better route runner than if a linebacker gets lined up on him. Also could have just been a Broncos thing, because, I mean, the Steelers do it all the time. Doesn't really matter. But regardless, I think it makes sense to move Claypool to the slot. He looked good there. And then maybe James Washington and Cody White will get some more reps. The Steelers really love Cody White. We were talking about this before the podcast, but he got to sit around as like a newer player, injured, and the Steelers waited for him during preseason, and they held on to him when he didn't really show much, at least during the preseason, because he was injured. So they see something in him, and they really like it. So, and they chose to elevate him to the 53-man roster before they even knew Juju would be hurt. So there's that as well. They were doing it for James Washington, but he was a permanent member. They cut Rashad Coward to put him on the 53. So they obviously like him a lot.
Well, they had to, because he was out of elevations. This would have been the last one. But regardless, the point is that this is a guy that got, I don't know if you want to call it special treatment, but he got more preferred treatment than the typical, undrafted free agent, dare I say, camp body. So that point is well taken. Let's go over kind of a little bit our thoughts on kind of the pros and cons between a Juju slot and a Chase Claypool slot receiver. And I think the big upside that you see with Chase Claypool in the slot is what you saw on Sunday, which is that he adds more of a vertical element. This team clearly trusts him more vertically than they did Juju recently. And I think that he adds more of a dynamic threat to be able to catch short and run long. I think that's the main thing Chase Claypool adds, on top of the fact that you mentioned he should be able to get open more easily now. And then I think the downside to that is then in those, third and short, fourth and short situations, got to have it with the guy with the ability to make contested grabs, that was something Juju did fantastic. He was fantastic at it over the course of his career, and especially the last couple years. And Chase Claypool has shown to have not as reliable hands, and his ability to make contested catches, which he did somewhat regularly in college, he has not done a very good job of in the NFL. So would you concur with that thought, and do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I concur with that thought. And the one thing I want to add, it's like along the same lines of the combative catch. He has so much worse contact balance than Juju Smith-Schuster, and that affects his ability to make those competitive catches at the NFL level. Just can't seem to stay on his feet when he's going up for combative. No, I mean like land on his feet. I shouldn't say stay on his feet. Obviously, you're going up, not going to be on your feet. But he really struggles. I feel like he falls to the ground a lot. So that's something that you're going to miss with Juju because he's tougher. He is not going to just fall down, get knocked over as easily, while Claypool doesn't have the contact balance that Juju does.
To sum it up, Juju has a higher floor and lower ceiling in the slot, and Claypool has a lower floor and higher ceiling.
Yeah, I could agree to that.
But regardless, I think it should be interesting to see how he's used, and then I want to see if James Washington can kind of be utilized without missing much of a beat. And I think he can, because that's his more natural position. And, I think it should be a pretty seamless transition there. I think the big question is how Claypool plays in the slot. Can he make those tough plays or get better at making those contested grabs?
Yeah, you never know. Also, it might be different when a team is now preparing for it, because, I mean, the team prepared for Juju in the slot. They did not prepare for Chase Claypool in the slot, so it could change the matchups that they had going into the week almost completely. And, I mean, it looked like they tried it. They put Von Miller on Chase Claypool, which I don't think I would have advised even if it was Juju Smith-Schuster, so I don't really know what they were doing there. But regardless, the Seahawks have a chance to now focus on that, say, okay, we know who's going to be in the slot for this game, and they can focus on it. So that might change how well he does as well.
It also might be tough to see if it's really effective or not. You might have to wait a couple weeks just because the Seahawks defense is, it's beyond a leaky faucet. It's bad. And we'll have plenty of time to talk about that too. But with regards to Cody White, who you mentioned earlier, with him being elevated, why don't we get on to the other bit of news, which is that the Steelers ended up cutting guard Rashad Coward in a corresponding move to make room for Cody White, and Coward was actually claimed on waivers by the Jaguars. I don't know if the Steelers were expecting him to get through. Coward was a guy that maybe was a potential IR candidate. So, I mean, I don't know if you view it as potential roster mismanagement, considering the Jaguars are either first or second in the waiver order. But Coward was considered a project piece, and I heard some good things about him at the start of camp, but obviously is not NFL ready and wouldn't have been an impact this year anyways.
Yeah, it's not the biggest loss in the world. The Steelers will be able to live without him. It'll be okay.
I put it this way, with this line playing as bad as it did the first month of the year, he still was inactive every week.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't doing much, so it's not a big deal.
With the injury to Smith-Schuster and the elevation of Cody White from the practice squad full-time, that left a potential practice squad a spot open for another receiver. They already have Steven Sims, the former Washington football team receiver, but they also just signed wide receiver Anthony Miller, formerly of the Chicago Bears and most recently the Houston Texans, right? What all happened with him? Because I didn't think he was an amazing receiver, but I thought he was at least worth something.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans thought he was worth something, and then they signed Danny Amendola. The Texans traded for him, then signed Danny Amendola, then elected to keep Danny Amendola. So I don't know if that tells you much about Anthony Miller, but he was not good enough to stay on the Texans. So I'm not a personal fan of Anthony Miller's. He was not my wide receiver one choice. The Broncos took my wide receiver one choice after the Steelers, but I wanted John Brown, because he's fast. But Anthony Miller's not bad to keep on the practice squad, see if he develops. The Steelers are somewhat decent at taking wide receivers and making them reach their potential a little bit better over the years. They've been better at having good wide receivers at least, so there's a chance for him. He's still young.
Anthony Miller projects as a slot receiver. His career has kind of panned out, honestly, kind of similarly to Eli Rogers, with actually a little more production, where he's been not a consistent threat beyond 10 yards. His career high for receptions in a year is 52. He's had 52 and 49 in a year twice before. And outside of 7 receiving touchdowns in the 2018 season, he's been pretty, I don't want to say pedestrian because that sounds disrespectful, but he's been an average slot receiver. So I think it's a good organizational signing.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, low risk, high reward.
You wouldn't expect him to be activated at any point here over the next few weeks, right? Barring
No,
injury.
maybe after the bye week, but not before then.
In other news, Devin Bush re-aggravated his hamstring. I thought it was a groin injury. Isn't he part of the groin club?
Oh, he's part of the groin club. I wrote hamstring by accident. He is a groin club.
That really needs to be a t-shirt, man.
Welcome to the groin club, boys.
Groin club. What's the first rule of groin club?
You have to have a groin injury. It's the first rule of groin club.
I was going to say don't talk about groin club, but okay. The interesting part about the Anthony Miller news is that you texted me that he pulled kind of like a Tyson Alualu, where he was sort of agreeing in principle to sign with the Jaguars, but decided to sign with Pittsburgh after the Smith-Schuster injury news, and that there'd be another open position on the practice squad there. And in another move, the Steelers signed defensive tackle Isaiah Mack to the practice squad and released nose tackle Eli Ankou. So Ankou makes a 1-week stay with the Steelers. And Mack, do you know anything about Isaiah Mack?
I literally know nothing. I was going to say I don't know anything about this man, so I've never even heard of him. Eli, I at least knew. I had heard of him. I knew he traded from the Texans to the Cowboys. I don't know who Isaiah Mack is or where he really came from. He might be an undrafted free agent. I literally don't know.
Isaiah Mack was undrafted out of Chattanooga in 2019. Spent the first 2 years of his career with Tennessee. Was released midway through the 2020 season, signed by New England last year, and was not renewed from the practice squad after the 2020 season. Played with the Broncos in this preseason and was waived as a part of final cutdowns.
Okay.
He has played in 21 career games with 1 start coming in his rookie year and had a sack and a half in that game.
All right.
So
the more you know.
All right. Elsewhere, speaking of practice squad news, there's a lot of practice squad news this week. We feel like we don't usually have this much to say about the practice squad, but cornerback Mark Gilbert, who survived, I believe, up until the final cutdown with the Steelers and was placed on the practice squad, had been there all season so far, was signed by the Detroit Lions, who have had a host of cornerback injuries, including former, I believe, number 3 overall pick Jeffrey Okudah, who is out for the year with an Achilles injury. So he'll probably see some time, at least as a special teamer, right away. And beyond that, the Steelers protected edge rusher Taco Charlton, safety Carl Joseph, and receiver Steven Sims, and the recently signed Anthony Miller for Week 6. None of that should be really any surprising.
Yeah, nothing super surprising there.
All right. And when we get into this game, I feel like there's probably more to say about the offense, but I'm okay with starting there just because of the way the game started. They got that opening drive and kind of stuck from there. But, the opening drive touchdown, and we got to see more from this offense after that opening drive touchdown, and it was by far the best game of the year from the offense, and they put together, I don't want to call it a complete game because the last drive or two was not super awe-inspiring after Najee Harris left the game, but they did what they had to do in this one, and they certainly carried their weight.
Yeah, I think the offense did a good job overall. It could have been a different game, but that's neither here nor there. They did their job, they did enough, and they did pretty solid. They scored 27 points without help from like a from a turnover. I mean, obviously James Pierre had that turnover at the very end of the game, but that didn't lead to points. So the offense scored 27 on their own, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, like you mentioned with that last turnover coming at the very death of the game. And I think the first thing that sort of jumps out to you is the raw rushing statistics, and it does actually tell the story. The Steelers' rushing game was very good in this game, and I'd still say that there's a lot of improvement to go with it, but this was the first. We saw some indications that the running game was improving last week, but for the second week in a row, we've seen improved run blocking from this offensive line, and we've seen Najee Harris have more room to run with than he has all season long. And I think that has to be the most encouraging sign for this entire offense. The first time a running back has gone over 100 yards rushing in a game since it was James Conner, but I'm forgetting who it was against. Do you remember?
I don't remember either. I remember reading the tweet.
I know that the last time they ran for 100 yards as a team was the Jaguars game last year. I wanted to say Denver, but I know that's not true.
Yeah, it wasn't Denver.
Forgetting who we played. I might have been Houston. No, it wasn't. There was one other game. It wasn't Philly. It might have been.
It was week 6 of last year. Does that help? That was the first thing I found.
It was after the Eagles game. I know that. I just don't remember who we played. Oh, it was the Browns.
Ah.
It was that Browns blowout win. So that's what it was. So I think it's been just about a year since then. And in fact, 1 week shy of a year, at least in terms of the NFL schedule.
Yep. It's been almost a full 16 games.
And just like last week, the offense started with a nice opening drive. They got right around to midfield, were moving the ball, and took a shot down the right side. It was a different play than it was last week, but another perfect throw from Ben Roethlisberger, airing it out right into the open arms of Deontay Johnson for another opening drive touchdown. The first back-to-back opening drive touchdowns for this team to start the game for the first time since, I forget the weeks, but it was since they played the Titans and Packers in the final third of the 2017 regular season. So it's been quite a long time for the Steelers since they've had success on opening drives in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Matt Canada's game plan is evolving. Maybe he's finally got a good, get into the game script. At least for these 2 games he did, so that works out. I mean, good job to him and the offense for starting strong the past 2 weeks.
And like I had just mentioned, the running game took center stage, and the offensive line did a much better job. Najee Harris had lots of open holes, so the raw numbers look good, right? For Harris, he had 23 for 122 and a touchdown, including an explosive run. Benny Snell finished with good overall numbers. As a team, 35 rushes, 147 yards, 34 for 148 if you take out Ben's final kneel down. So they were able to get chunks, and they were able to stay on schedule in this one. I think if you want to talk about Najee negative runs, I think there were only 2 or 3 times he carried the ball and lost yardage. So even though they didn't average a ton on first down, they were staying on schedule in this one, and they weren't incurring those negative plays that have a tendency to kill drives with this team. So, I mean, just overall, a much, much better performance for this team than we have seen before. And if you wait just a second here, I'll get the successful run rate. So, all right, Austin, let's preach to the choir again. What is the number we're looking for successful run rates?
Above 50%.
Okay. Najee Harris carried the ball 23 times in this one. He had 16 that were considered successful. That is a 69.5% success rate.
Nice.
Very, very nice, I must say. So Harris was obviously very good and impactful on his runs. There is a bit of an issue, though, and that comes with the backup running backs. And we've harped a lot on Benny Snell this year. We've harped a lot on Jalen Samuels, who is not on this team but is still on the practice squad. So we've harped on the 2 of those guys. And without Anthony McFarland, Kalen Ballage was the number 3 running back. Finally got his first touches of the season in this one and didn't do anything to separate himself either. Snell and Balaj had 9 carries in this game. Just one, a 9-yard run by Benny Snell, was considered successful. Beyond that, Benny Snell also dropped a pass, and
Classic.
both of them missed opportunities to gain yardage that was there, and instead bounced plays outside. Balaj finished with 4 carries for a total of 0 yards, which in total creates a run success rate of 11.1% for them, and drops this team's official run success rate down from that nice 69.5% to 53.1%. So, do you want to touch on the good or the bad here?
Let's touch on the good. That was Najee Harris. He did a really good job when he was running the ball. He looked like when he was getting hit, he was getting those extra yards that you need. Like when he was getting hit at the 0, he's getting those extra 2 yards. A gain of 2 turns into a gain of 5, so on and so forth. That's just advertised. That's as you were hoping for. You'd get with Najee Harris. You'd get the hard runner putting his shoulder down. He's going to get fight for those extra yards. Saw that. The offensive line also did a good job for him. I felt like there was more holes than we had typically seen. This was probably the offensive line's best performance so far. It might end up being their best performance all year. So I mean, it's basically as top tier as you're going to get for how good they did with creating those holes, and then also they did solid in the passing game. All but Ben Roethlisberger didn't pass as much as he normally did. But that's what you want. This is the game you want. Ben throwing 25 times, over 30 carries by running backs. I guess no, it is still over 30 carries by running backs. Let your running backs win the game. Let Ben throw little, but back to the whole point at hand is that I thought Najee Harris did a really great job in this game.
Yeah, so this is, like we said at the onset of this episode, this is how this team is going to win games, and this is how they're going to run the offense successfully. And it involves, being able to run the ball, being able to pass effectively when given the opportunity, and not dropping back and exposing the quarterback a lot, because the team can't pass protect very well right now, and because Ben is having issues adjusting to the offense and is struggling with other things. Plus he's 39. You don't want a 39-year-old quarterback dropping back that much. So all that being said, like you said, a lot of what was advertised with Najee, he just had more opportunities to do so. And what we finally saw in this one was explosive plays. I believe there was a 13, an 18, and a 20-yarder, I believe, at least certainly a 20-yarder. Runs where he was actually not touched until he was past 3 yards down past the line of scrimmage. Plays where he wasn't being touched in the backfield or at the line, and he was really able to create. And we harp very much on not drafting first round running backs, Austin, but perhaps at least in a game like this, we have to eat our words, because we saw the difference between a really good running back and 2 that weren't so very good at creating and taking what was there from the defense.
Yeah, this is true. We did see the first round running back look a lot better than the 4th round, and I think Balaj was undrafted. I don't remember. He might have been a 7th round pick though. The team needs Anthony McFarland back so bad, and they need him to be decent, at least better than Benny Snell and Balaj, because they really need that change of pace back so Najee doesn't get run into the ground in 3 years, 4 years.
Balaj also a 4th round pick, by the way.
He was 4th round? Really?
Mm-hmm.
By Miami, correct? Or Chargers?
No, he was with Miami before he was with the Chargers, so yeah.
Okay, it was Miami. Okay, I tripped myself up.
Anyhow, back to Harris. There was one particular play. You got to see him make several plays where you could really see that he was kind of feeling it in this one. And I'm thinking specifically about one play where he was one-on-one with, I think it might have been a defensive back. And it reminded me, I saw the play, it made me instantly think about Le'Veon Bell and the way that he used to make guys miss. You just have to make one guy miss and then you can get positive yardage, where Harris was kind of jumping and did that little jump cut where he stuck his foot in the ground and then cut forward and made the guy miss completely. Do you remember the play I'm talking about?
Somewhat. I think I do.
I saw it and I was immediately like, that's a first round running back right there. So definitely the best game of the year for him, and it is unfortunate to see what happened with him at the end of the game. How concerned are you about his injury? I think it's just cramp related.
My man needs a banana.
Well, he needs a banana
and water.
He needs that, and he needs a backup running back that can get him 5 more plays off.
That too, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's why we need Anthony McFarland bad, and we need him to be like just decent.
So why don't we talk a little bit about those backup running backs and the struggles they had? A grand total of 20 yards on 9 carries between them. 9 of them came on one play for Benny Snell. Again, just one successful run between them. Kalen Ballage got the first play between the two of them, which I agreed with because Snell had been a detriment to this team, and he had another special teams penalty in this one. Again,
trash.
And again, he dropped a pass, and he ran better than Ballage did, but both of them missed opportunities to gain extra yardage, and it's just an issue with these guys.
Yeah, they're not very good, it looks like. Yeah, that pass to Snell is the same as last week. Hit him right where it had to go, and he dropped it again. I mean, that was across the body, too, so that sucked. Like, that Ben got it there, and he wasn't able to catch it when it hit him right where it needed to be. It's tough. Benny Snell is not a very good back, but that being said, neither is Ballage. Ballage didn't do much to separate himself. His long was 3 yards, and he finished with 0. So that should tell you how he did.
So with these guys, I mean, what is the solution? I mean, we already really know what Benny Snell is. He's a guy that really only plays well when you give him a lot of touches, and obviously that's just not going to happen. Ballage, at least there's a little bit more of an unknown there. We know that McFarland needs to come back, but what else can this team do in the meantime?
Derek Watt run? I have no idea.
He has touched the ball. Has he touched the ball this year?
As a runner, I don't think so. He's caught a pass.
He's caught a pass. He has in his Steelers career, he has 3 touches with Pittsburgh in a year plus now, and 2 of them came on back-to-back drives in that wild card game.
Classic. Yep. I can't think of really anything else other than Anthony McFarland coming back.
Would you put any thought to putting Ray in the backfield like they used to do with Ryan Switzer?
Yeah, I feel like that's asking to fumble. That's
really a problem. Yeah, I wouldn't. As much of an issue as the other guys have been, I don't know. I mean, I guess here's another question, because McFarland is coming back in 2 weeks. Can you last until the Cleveland game? Can you just get through this one more game? Do you trust Snell or Ballage more, I guess? Do you try to get the backup touches?
Ugh. No.
No.
It's just, the answer is no. The choices are given. So
you're gonna run 01 personnel.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess Snell, just make him a runner. Don't even try and throw to him. Just make him run. I guess that's it. If you're gonna put him in there, don't try and
no check and release. Only check.
Yeah. Lord.
Who would you, first of all, who do you think is getting cut? Because I think that's pretty obvious. And then who would you cut once?
Ballage is getting cut.
Yeah. Would you cut him?
No. I'd still cut Snell because I have a hatred for Snell, but that's probably not fair. I think he is.
Well,
better.
if you put it aside, would you still do it?
I think the smart thing to do is cut Ballage. He might be a better pass blocker than Snell, which I'd have to go back and really look. Honestly, I can't really remember between the two of them how they fared as pass blockers. If they even got a pass blocking snap, I'm not really even sure. But I know Snell doesn't really exceed there, but I think it's smarter to hold on to Snell, I guess, because he's young, has potential.
He offers more special teams, at least.
And he offers more special teams, yeah.
Although if he keeps taking penalties, he might not be worth it for much longer.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be on special teams and take penalties, you're not very good.
What else? Deontay Johnson had that big opening catch, but really kind of quiet beyond that. But I still thought he played well. Chase Claypool was the man of the afternoon, finally coming through big. And again, I told you 4 of his 5 receptions came in the slot in this one, offering some hope going forward. And beyond that, nobody else had more than 2 catches in this game, but a lot of them were important catches.
Yeah, I mean, I think the offense did pretty solid. I think that I liked Deontay Johnson's catches. They were both important ones, the touchdown, and then he got the team to about midfield late in the second half so that they got into a position later to kick a field goal. That's where his second catch came from. And then Pat Freiermuth, probably the most solid 2-catch, 7-yard game. Both came on third down. Both were first down conversions. So one was for 3, one was for 4. It was like 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4. So he did a really good job. Ebron caught both of his targets, which is a rarity. Not for. Okay, I thought I messed that up. No, he did catch both his targets. Not for very much yards, but he did his job, so can't complain there. I liked what I saw from Zach Gentry. Zach Gentry got that one catch. It was like a tight end kind of screen thing. He went out to block, then kind of turned around, and then got 10 yards from it, or 13 yards from it rather, and did a good job. But yeah, other than that, not much from the pass catchers. It was mostly Chase Claypool.
Mm-hmm. And that you know what, that's going to happen when you only attempt 25 passes and complete 15 of them. But on the whole, I can't think of anybody. And like you said, that I remember one Ebron catch was also on third down, and it was a nice catch. The tight end's quiet, but at least 3 of their 4 total catches moved the chains, so that was important on them.
Yeah, important.
Juju had one target that was, I thought it was a miscommunication. Kalen Ballage and Benny Snell both 0 for 2, or 0 for 2 combined.
Classic.
Cody White had one target, which wasn't a perfectly thrown ball, but one that you probably look back on and wish he probably could have caught. They gave him a drop on that officially. I don't know if that's necessarily fair, but that is one you hope he would have come up with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how hard I could be on him. We already talked about to start the podcast how the Steelers really like him. I felt like it was catchable, but this is a guy that was like a practice squad guy up until this week. I don't know how much crap I could give him for that. Do I wish he caught it? Of course. Like, I thought it was a very catchable ball, maybe like a 50-50 ball. Not like 50-50, like go up and get it. That's not what the play looked like, but I thought that Ben put it in a good enough position that it could have been caught, if possibly a better wide receiver. Unsure. Overall, Ben could have put it in a better spot. Ben's not been very good at leading wide receivers, but it was still put where he could have caught it, and the defender did not get his hands into the catch box up until after the ball got there. So ticky tacky.
On this play, I forget if it was a crosser or kind of a corner route, but it's a play where Ben kind of lofts it up to White, for those who don't remember the play, and White has to kind of come back to it, so he has to kind of break on his route a little bit and come back to it, and the defensive back didn't kind of read what was going on and reacted late to it, so he kind of had to undercut the defender, and he was in position. He was going to the ground as he tried to catch it, but it went right through his hands. He kind of had his arms extended out below him like you're trying to catch a punt almost, and he couldn't come up with it.
Yeah, it's tough out here. It's tough out in these parts.
You mentioned Zach Gentry. He's quietly had a good season, by the way. I think his blocking has gotten better, and he's gotten involved in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, he really rocked that 81. When he got that catch and run, I was like, oh, that's Jesse James. Not really. He's much taller. He's big. He's so much bigger, but
they're about the same height. He's only like an inch taller.
Oh, really? Was Jesse James that tall?
He's 6'7".
Wow, I didn't remember him being that tall. I thought he was like 6'5". Wow, the more you know. Okay, yeah. So I mean, it reminded me of Jesse James.
I'm looking back now. How do you think Ben played in this one? Because obviously it was his best game of the year, there's still things to improve on. He missed 10 passes, or well, had officially 10 incomplete passes, 2 drops on the day, 1 by Snell and 1 by Cody White. Has this knack for when he's rolling out to his right, just throwing the ball directly to linebackers for some reason. Had what I thought was a miscommunication with Juju. Got fortunate on another play, but overall I thought played pretty well in this one. Certainly his best all year. And I do think that there's actually another level he can get to, but if he can do this going forward, it's going to be not enough to win, obviously, all games, but it's enough to win most games, if everything else falls right, I should say.
Yeah, this is enough. This is what you need. A 60% completion percentage from him. No turnovers. Could have been a much different game because Alexander Johnson doesn't have hands, but that didn't happen, so we're not going to talk about that. But however, he does really have to start leading receivers better because, again, it wasn't that he couldn't throw to that receiver. He was not leading them. He's doing a really bad job with that. And especially on the run, as you pointed out, when he runs to the right, it's really just going straight into the linebacker's hands. Steelers lucked out that, again, Alexander Johnson could not catch, but Ben played good enough. Just got to maintain those no interceptions. You're allowed like 1 turnover, so that fumble he had where he kind of held the ball for too long, that was acceptable. It only turned into 3 points based on where it was. So that's allowed, but like not really much more than that. So this is kind of like the ideal game that you can have for the rest of the year.
Baseline performance that you're looking for.
Yeah, this is solid.
Well, let's kind of break down some of these plays that could have gone better. Like I said, when he's rolling out to his right, he needs to stop having this affinity for throwing it directly to linebackers, number one. Harris was open. It was kind of a close play, but like you said, if he leads him a little more, puts it into Harris's hands where he has to stretch out a little bit, I don't know if there was a defender in front of him, but he's running. He's running free. And we talked about the Cody White play a little bit, and we mentioned the drops. What was the other one he dropped? Do you remember the other dropped interception?
I know it was to Alexander Johnson again, but I just can't remember when it happened.
I'm going to have to look at this because I don't remember. Do you remember a play in the game when the Steelers were attempting... Ben had that ball batted in the air, and it was almost intercepted by, I think, Purcell?
Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, shout out Ray McLeod.
Torpedoing his body into it.
Yeah, literally put everything he could, helmet to helmet, basically, to get that ball out, and it's the reason it didn't get intercepted by a defensive lineman. So shout out Ray on that one.
If that ball doesn't get tipped, I don't know yet who that's being targeted to, if it's Gentry or Ebron. If it's Ebron, I think that might be an explosive play. He is open right there.
Yeah, that's
on
tough.
That tip. Gentry would have been a tougher completion, but he could have gotten it there. That would have been a first down if it's on the outside shoulder. It's at 8:10 in the first quarter. Try to go back and look at that one if you can. The Broncos are kind of setting up in a... Let me see this. Looks like the linebacker. Who is that? The linebacker reads it perfectly. This is the play the Steelers have been running all year, where the outside receiver is basically turning to the quarterback and standing at the line of scrimmage. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I do. Apparently, according to ESPN, that was intended for Gentry. That doesn't mean that's true, but it was apparently going for Gentry on ESPN's analysis of it.
That would have been a tougher play, but if that ball was on the outside, that should be a catch and that should be a first down. That ball, when Ben is letting go of that ball, the defender's still like 5 yards away, and Gentry's only 4 yards down the field at that point. So, I mean, it's not a wide open window, but that should have been completed. Had it not been tipped, of course. And, of course, I have this still frame right now of Purcell's 98, right?
Purcell is... I don't actually know his number. I don't remember.
I need to double check this. Yeah, he's number 98. So Mans is doing like a full split on the field because the ball is like on his helmet. He's like doing a full split right now. And little does he know Ray is darting in with, all 150 pounds soaking wet on him. About to bear down on him. I'm going to send that to you because you need to see that.
Ray McLeod laying down the law.
Yeah. If that were a bigger player, that would have probably hurt him. So, thankfully no one... Oh, actually,
he got hurt on that play, yeah. Not to laugh at his injury, it's just it's kind of funny that Ray McLeod came in and, laid the boom so hard.
Beyond that, Ben made some nice throws in this game. He had the quick slant to Deontay. I went back and looked at that play because I was like, that looks kind of cool. Like, kind of odd, like the way that turned out. He ended up, like, throwing it off, not off his back foot, but he didn't even, like, give himself time to plant that foot. And mind you, that was a play-action fake. Maybe not a real play-action fake, but it almost looked like a play-action fake under center. He didn't put the ball out. He just kind of turned back, looked at Snell, took the one step, and then launched it out, and his back foot's not even in place. So actually, I take it back. It was just a front-footed play. But that's one where Deontay Johnson had a 22-yard catch and run, his only other catch of the day. But yeah, the big catch and run by Claypool, which Ben identified with Von Miller on him in coverage. A big explosive play touchdown over the middle, Austin, to Chase Claypool. Ring the alarms there, ring the bells there. An explosive play down the middle, and it's a touchdown. That's like Christmas in July or in October, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get much better than that. Not going to get much better than that at all. And I will take that. If we only get one completion over the middle of the field every game, I'll take it. At least it keeps the defense somewhat honest that they know it can happen.
So overall, when looking at Ben's day, we touched on some of these. He does still need to get a bit better, but this was definitely an encouraging performance. He's still a little inaccurate on some of these throws, and I think the injury is still playing a bit of a part in it. But let me ask you, he's supposed to be working on his mechanics. We know he's never been a mechanics guy throughout his entire career. If he's actually working on it, it's not something that takes, he'll get better at it in a week. Is there hope that he can improve at least a little bit and can cut down on maybe 5 potential bad plays to maybe only 3 or 2?
Repeat that one more time, just so I understand.
I'm asking you if you think that these supposed questions of Ben working on his mechanics, it's not, working on mechanics doesn't change overnight. It takes time. Do you think that with Ben finally really, putting the work in to help himself here, do you think that it's realistic that he could start missing on fewer passes over the course of a game, further down the line later in the year?
I hope so, but I don't think so. I don't think there's much working on mechanics at this age. I know they talked about that and said that, but I mean, I don't think there's much working on mechanics where Ben's at.
So you think it's probably just a matter for him to get better at, start missing fewer passes, it's going to have to basically just entail him getting a little healthier?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the best thing for him is just getting healthy, yeah.
All right. 27 points from the offense, like you said, with no turnovers aided to them until the very end. So all in all, a really effective day. I still would not call this the ceiling because they had other opportunities to punch it in, but this is close to the ceiling and still things to clean up. But like you said, a baseline for this offense, and I think really encouraging going forward.
Yeah. Yep.
What about the defense? What do you think about their play?
I thought they did decent. I want them to enter top 5 defense. They're close. I wanted to know where I thought they would rank. So I went back and looked at all the defenses. I looked at all the defenses that held their opponents to 19 points or less, and I determined that 5 teams I think did better than them given the circumstances they were in, and I want them to be in the top 5. So they're at 6. I had the Lions, Eagles, Bears, 49ers, and Cardinals all doing a better job than than the Steelers. While the other teams I didn't think did a better job. I thought they either, like for example, I do not think the Titans did a better job on defense going against the Jaguars. I think the Broncos offense is better, and then the Titans didn't have a turnover on offense. So, like, to put the Jaguars into a short field. I did not think who played the Seahawks. Was it the Rams? The Rams played the Seahawks? Yeah.
Yep, that was Thursday night.
Yeah, the Rams played the Seahawks with like a dead Russell Wilson. I did not feel that the Rams had played a better game on defense, but stuff like that. So I want them to enter top 5 because that's kind of where they need to be. It'd be nice to be consistent there. 6 is all right. 6. I mean, you're still top 10. Top 14 is technically playoffs. So, but where the defense's expectations are at, I don't really want them outside of the top 5. They should be playing at a very high level, and they're not bad yet. If they were playing a good 3 quarters of football and then just really fell apart in the fourth quarter. I mean, they had a really solid third quarter. They allowed no points in that quarter at all, but again, just fell apart in the fourth. Able to salvage it at the end, get that last interception to seal the deal, make sure that they couldn't go for 2 to tie it back up. But just want to see them do better and finish the day strong.
Yeah, so through 3 quarters, this was an elite defensive performance. And bottom line, you look at the numbers; they did a good enough job. I just think it's the context of the way things happened that turned this from a really good day to a good day.
Yeah, you want them to be top 5, and they weren't top 5 after the fourth quarter, which they could have been.
So, I will highlight for the fourth week in a row we've talked about the Broncos or the opposing team's biggest threat on offense, and it was a little different for the Broncos because they were missing so many weapons. We determined their biggest threat was what, Austin? Their running game, right?
Yeah, their running game would be the biggest thing with when we thought Sutton. I thought Sutton was going to be out, at the very least.
And on the day, I know the numbers say 18 for 106, but again, advanced analytics here. Ready? Of the 17 running back runs that the Denver Broncos running backs had in this game, they were only successful on 6 of those runs, which leads to a successful run rate of 35.2. So the Steelers were doing a great job of keeping the running game in check, and part of that was the Steelers held the ball for much of the first part of the game. Number one. Number two, they got out to a lead. But honestly, outside of, I think there were 2 of those runs. There was an 8-yard run by Melvin Gordon and obviously the big 49-yard run by Javonte Williams, which was really the extent of the Broncos' big play offense up until the final 2 drives of the game for them. That run, which we can break that play down, but I need to credit the Steelers defense for hemming in the good running game of the Denver Broncos after we were both very concerned about this rushing attack, and they played very well, and I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, not only did they play well, they played well with a lot of switching. I thought that was interesting. Like the Henry Mondeau was out there a good amount, so he switched in and out with Isaiah Buggs. Stuff. I thought Buggs was hurt because the amount of time Mondo and Loudermilk both got significant snaps in this game. So I think they did a good job other than that one run. And that one run, I'm honestly, though, if I'm to single out one player, it's Minkah Fitzpatrick on that run. I obviously got past the D-line, so you wish for better, but like I think that Minkah should have stopped it more than anything. They're going to occasionally break through. You can't just block shed on every single play and be amazing, but Minkah had the angle and stuff, and he just missed the tackle, which has been his problem. But, it didn't result in a touchdown because shout out James Pierre, who had an up-and-down day. That being one of his ops, being able to get that tackle, get chased down Javonte from behind. But, yeah, overall, the Steelers did a good job shutting down their run offense. You take away that one play, it's just completely different offense. What is that, like 17 for, 60? Like literally less than that? something like that. 106 minus 49 would be 57. So they'd have 17 rushes for 57 yards. It's a completely different game.
Yeah, the Steelers really did a good job of setting out to slow that down. And that particular play, I believe, did they have Melvin Gordon in the backfield too on that play?
I do not recall.
No, they didn't. Okay, so they lined up a tight end. I'm looking at the play right now. So you can blame kind of two people on this one. You can blame Alex Highsmith for this one because he kind of crashed down and chased Teddy Bridgewater. But honestly, that play is meant to get the running back out in space. And I felt, Terrell Edmonds did his job. He took on the oncoming tackle and kind of forced Williams to cut it back inside. And this has been a problem we've talked about with Minka for a while now, similar to the way Ryan Shazier, we had problems with him. But it feels like this year, more so than either of the last 2 years, Fitzpatrick has just had issues bringing down guys in the open field. He got himself broken down, and he was in position to make a play, but he overran it. And Williams didn't even really make a cut. He just kind of started running a little bit further upfield, and Minka completely whiffed. And thankfully for James Pierre, he prevented a touchdown, but that could have very easily been a very negative play. And it was a negative play, but it could have been much worse.
Yeah, and I mean, Javonte Williams backing up himself by causing a delay of game also helped, but yeah, again, shout out to James Pierre for getting that. I mean, definitely huge play. Don't expect a cornerback from behind to get a running back like that. So he didn't have the best of days. It was average because he had bad times and good times, but that was one of the really good times. So
What'd you think about that call, by the way?
the delay of game.
Yes.
It's just, I don't know. It's just the ball. If I remember correctly, he kicked it, right?
No, he spiked it.
Oh, he spiked it. Oh, yeah. Interesting call. I don't know because it's like, is that a delay of game for doing that? I guess so. I guess you only see spikes in the end zone. I don't know. I never really thought about it.
I guess by the book it is, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
So, in the moment, it looked really soft. I'm just
Yeah.
going to say that. But when talking about individuals, I guess, why don't we touch on James Pierre then? Because he had this fantastic all-effort play. He gets beaten over the top again very badly, just like that Jamar Chase play, gets the Broncos back in the game, then breaks up a pass on the final drive and then intercepts one. So you talked about up and down. Really, there was only one down, but it was a really bad down. But at the end of the day, he battled back and showed he was as mentally tough as anyone else on the team.
Yeah, I mean, he clutched up. I mean, he had that bad mistake. It seems like he's spending a little bit too much time trying to press and hand fight at the, closer to the line the entire time, and that's causing him to lose later on the rep. It's what happened on both the Sutton catch and the other catch against Jamar Chase. So, I guess it's probably not in his... I don't know if it's been working for most of the game. That could have... I gotta really go back and look again. Focus on James Pierre and see, is he doing this all game and did he get beat once in every game doing that? Because then it's like, all right, I guess it's forgivable, but I feel like it's not happening that often. I feel like he's only getting beat when that happens, but could be biased. Have to go back and look. Other than that, yeah, he clutched up. About almost, I think, 2 plays prior, he had almost gotten the pick. Like, he was about to get it, and unfortunately, it fell out of his hands. He just couldn't make the catch. Let's see, was it 2 plays before? No, it's a little bit longer. Okay, yeah, it was 2nd and 5 at the Pittsburgh 32. That's when he had that. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plays later, he actually got the interception. So he clutched up there, where if he let that catch go, that would have been a touchdown as well. And then he got the ending interception. So overall, solid day. The down was really bad, so up and down, but solid.
Looks like on that play to me, he was getting caught looking in the backfield a bit too early. Or not backfield, but getting caught looking back for the ball. He's not a blazing fast guy. So I think it's something where he's got to learn that he can't take the time to look back like that early in the rep, because he's not gifted enough to look back and stay with a guy like Cortland Sutton who will burn you down the field.
Yeah, it's tough.
Hey, man, I give him a lot of credit. I was really frustrated when he gave up that play, and he can't give it up. But, we saw Artie Burns give up a play like that, and then he was cooked for the rest of the game. But Pierre came back. He played well after that and had played well before that. Tell you what, this is a guy that knows Joe Hayden's a veteran cornerback on the other side, and he knows he's going to get targeted. He's going to be the guy that teams go after, and he responded in a big way in this one. And I can't say enough good things about him, even though in the moment I was frustrated with him. But he came through in a big way this time. What's that?
I remembered a second thing, because I knew there was something else. I was like, there was another thing that James Pierre did bad. So there was a play where Joe Schobert and James Pierre went after the same guy, and James Pierre was definitely supposed to follow his guy up the sideline because it led Joe Schobert on a wide receiver, where surprisingly it was not planned that way. Joe Schobert was supposed to go out to the flat and watch who was in the flat, but they both ended up doing that. Joe Schobert reacted after he saw that to try and cover the other guy that James Pierre let go. And unfortunately it was for a catch, and Joe Schobert turned around like, hey, like, you were supposed to do that. And then it came out that, yeah, he was supposed to carry that guy. So that was the other bad play from Pierre, but otherwise, solid.
When was that?
I'm trying to think if I can find the play. I think I could find it pretty easily.
What do you think it was on one of the last couple drives when the Broncos were kind of moving at will?
Miscommunication. I'm going to send it to you on Twitter.
There were some busted coverages by this defense on those last 2 to 3 drives. There was a big deep pass to Kendall Hinton on that final drive where Bridgewater could basically lofted it up to Hinton on the sideline, who made a great play, by the way. And also, just a quick shout out to him. This is a guy that's probably going to be remembered for that emergency quarterback situation last year with the whole COVID protocol, which had nothing to do with him, but he got thrust into the spotlight and he got screwed for it. So he scored his first career touchdown and had a great catch there between Arthur Mollett and Minka Fitzpatrick there, but I was ready to pull my hair out at that point.
Yeah, he did a good job. I mean, I'm happy that he made the roster. I mean, it took a bunch of injuries, but I'm glad he got to stick around and actually get a chance at wide receiver. So,
where did you send the play?
I sent it on Twitter. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a timestamp. No, it doesn't have the game clock on the video, so I don't actually know when it happened.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the defense? We talked a bit about the defensive backs. We haven't really talked much about the.
I think actually, I'm pretty sure it was the play before the Kendall Hinton touchdown, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a 4th down play. That was a 4th down play. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So it's a miscommunication. Yeah, Pierre. Wait, this is the play you're talking about? The one you sent me between.
Yeah.
Both take number 2 on the outside. That is funny. I was actually just That's funny. We were talking about the same play, talking about Kendall Hinton. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're saying on this one,
James Pierre was supposed to follow him up. Because you see them both bite on the flat guy.
Oh, so it was Mollett in coverage, not Schobert.
Oh, was that Mollett?
35?
No, there's James Pierre and Joe Schobert. Are we looking at the same thing right now?
Oh, you know what? We are looking at different plays. That's on me.
I was like, I don't see Mollett even on the picture. I was so confused. Yeah, no.
That's on me because I'm looking at a different breakdown.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at a different breakdown in that section of the field. And it's funny because it looks like there's another similar breakdown.
Yeah. It's a catch by Cortland Sutton to the 2-yard line.
I'm going to have to find this one because I don't remember when this was. This was a 4th down play. This must have been when it was 24-6, I think. Yeah, it was 24-6 because they converted 3 fourth downs on that drive. Okay. I've caught up to this now.
All right, we're good. We're good.
All right, I'm looking at this now. Yeah, they both go to the same guy. Yeah, Schobert gets hung out to dry. Yep.
Yeah. James
Right,
Pierre was supposed to sync with that guy going up, Cortland Sutton, rather than the flat, but James Pierre bid on the flat, and that's where Schobert was supposed to go.
Too many communication breakdowns with this team.
Classic. Yeah, just that happens every week, it seems.
When it comes to the position groups, though, in total, what do you think? We can start with the defensive line. How do you think they performed?
The defensive line, you said? I thought they did solid. I think they did a good job for the most part. I think they did. I thought that TJ Watt could have done better down the stretch setting the edge, but that's not really on the defensive line, is it? Apart from that, I think that the D-line did a good job. I mean, they held the run game in check for most of the day. Didn't allow many successful run rates. Overall, solid.
Cam Hayward has just been the team's best player this year by far.
Yeah, Cam Hayward, but for sure. I mean, PFF agrees with that too.
Elsewhere, Chris Wormley's playing well. How about Henry Mondeau? What an impressive sack that was. His first since he was in college. First NFL sack there.
Spin move, the big man spin move gets broken out. We've seen it in preseason before from him, but he's never gotten the chance to show it in the real game. But yeah, good for him.
That was an impressive play on tape, and I was definitely surprised to see that he got the sack. And you know what? They only finished with 2 sacks, but Isaiah Loudermilk had another sack taken away due to a penalty on Denver. Pass rush, I felt like, was inconsistent, but I feel like it's the best the pass rush has been since week 2. Actually, you know what? They were pretty good last week, but I don't know. The last 2 weeks, I feel like they've been pretty similar, where they made some plays, but it feels like they could have been a little more effective. Am I alone in that? They were getting pressure. I don't want to make it seem like they weren't. They still hit Teddy Bridgewater 5 times, but I think a lot of the struggles came on those last 2 to 3 drives where it felt like they weren't getting pressure.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think they could have played better. TJ Watt graded out positively, but I wanted to see more from him. I wasn't as high on Watt's performance after the half. I thought that he was getting pushed around the pocket, riding up the circle of the pocket a lot on every play, and I felt like he wasn't as involved as he was in the beginning. So I wanted to see more from him in particular, but then the entire pass rush as a whole wasn't really getting there the second half. I don't know if they were gassed or if the Broncos had made adjustments that had limited them, but a combination of the two possibly. But yeah, I want to see more closers here.
Yeah, you still get the feeling that Highsmith and Watt aren't 100% healthy yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities. Devin Bush just got hurt again, and he was seemingly out of the clear. So it's tough. Just sometimes you have to deal with it and play with it. So hopefully they get better as time goes on, and hopefully they get better from getting healthier.
Bye week could not be coming at a better time after this week.
Oh no, yeah, the bye week it's coming at a perfect time. You're getting to face a team that's kind of buckled by injuries, and hopefully you leave the week not having that many injuries, and you can just get healthy. Maybe see Carlos Davis on the other side of it, and hope for the best.
Fine game, I thought, from Joe Schobert, and I thought Devin Bush was playing really well before his injury. That was unfortunate. He had another sack in back-to-back weeks and was putting pressure on Bridgewater when he was playing, and I thought was pretty good in coverage, too.
Yeah, I thought Devin Bush was having a really good game. Shame he got injured again. I hope he's good to go this week, but those groin injuries, man, they're finicky. It took that one play. I don't know if you saw the play where he got injured. It didn't even look like anything. Like, he just, pulled up and was like, my leg hurts. that's what it looked like, and then he walked off, and that was never seen again. But, yeah, so, tough. I hope that he's okay, but he might need a week and then the bye week to just get fully healthy. I hope not. I hope that he could just make it to the bye week, use that to get healthy, but he might need the 2 weeks.
And as far as the defensive backs go, we've talked a lot about Pierre. Decent day from the defensive back room again until the death of it. I thought this was a more standard Terrell Edmonds game. A couple snaps out there for Carl Joseph. I thought Arthur Mollett played well. Minka needs to play better. I hate to keep ringing on him, but he needs to be better.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to be a liability as a tackler, he's got to do what he's good at and make the plays. He's got to make turnovers and force fumbles, something like that. Something, to counteract him missing the tackles. He's not really doing much right now. I mean, he's been okay in coverage, but still, he needs to make those turnovers to be like back at that All-Pro status. He's just been kind of just another guy. Not like he hasn't had the downs that Terrell Edmonds has, but still, you want him to play better. As for the other cornerbacks, I really like what I'm seeing from Arthur Mollett. I think he's played really well. I'm sure next week we won't see as much from him. I think Cameron Sutton's going to be back, and with Cameron Sutton back, it's just going to be Cameron Sutton, Joe Hayden, James Pierre. Not every snap, but because Trey Norwood still got snaps when they first tried that at first. But I think Mollett is better for that position. I think he's done a good job to prove himself that he makes more sense and more snaps if a nickelback is coming on instead of Trey Norwood. So I like what he did. Overall, pretty solid day for the defensive backs up until the end.
In total, when looking at this defense, you can look at the first three quarters and say elite, and then the final quarter you can say too many busted coverages, didn't keep a lid on things, but was ultimately able to make the play that the team needed to win. So I'd give it like a B plus.
Yeah, they could totally do better. There's room for improvement.
All right, specialists. Good day for the specialists. Special teams was so-so, but the specialists themselves were great. The Boz perfect on a day where kickers were just horrific, and Presley Harvin bounced back in a big way with a 63-yard punt and an average of 59.5 yards on his two boots. Certainly nice bounce back game from him. Return game offered nothing in this one.
Yeah, Boswell's doing really good. I mean, he would have hit a 51-yard field goal had the drive not continued due to a Broncos player getting a penalty. So they elected to accept the penalty. It took away his 51-yard field goal. But he's doing really good. I mean, if it wouldn't be for Justin Tucker, I think I could say pretty confidently that he would be the Pro Bowl leader at the moment at his position. But I think I sent John a message earlier. It's like, it doesn't matter what Justin Tucker does for the rest of the year. He could miss 5 of his next 10 field goals and 5 of his next 10 extra points, and then just be like at 70% for the rest of the year. He's gonna win it. It doesn't. It's like over. I'm hoping Chris Boswell could get a second team All-Pro though.
It could certainly be in the cards for him, but he's been. It's crazy because you also sent me that he's the third most accurate kicker in NFL history, and he plays in a division with the most accurate. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean that sucks. You're living in someone's shadow because you're just not the best. But
he does have a Pro Bowl though.
He does have a Pro Bowl. He did get one over Tucker.
Anthony Miller will be wearing number 17 with Pittsburgh.
Cool. Mike Wallace.
Mark Gilbert,
yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on this game?
No.
All right. Some news and notes to get to with the NFL. First, I'm going to point out real quickly that Ben Cleveland, the offensive lineman for the Ravens, is on injured reserve now after being injured last night during their win. That's 16 players on injured reserve for the Ravens, so they keep battling back, but my goodness, it's That's tough to withstand.
I can't believe they're still performing with all those injuries. Shout out to Lamar Jackson for keeping that team afloat. I mean, it's the real reason why he's just impossible to stop. So, because it's sure their defense, I think, has done a good job with all the limitations they've had. I mean, you look at what they did in the Lions game. They held the Lions to, what was it, 16 points, or they either won 17-16 or they won 18-17. So, regardless, with against a team, the offense kind of failed them in that game by only putting up 17 points. So I guess I can't even give Lamar Jackson that much credit. But I think they battled through adversity, I guess, as a team. That should probably what I point out as the reason for them being so successful. They battled through adversity, and they're rolling with the punches, and they were winning games, so good for them.
Now let's get to the elephant in the room, if you will, the whole John Gruden situation. So Gruden, there was a story that came out last week about an email that he had sent. Could you help me with this a bit, Austin? Because I forget the exact context of it, but he was sending an email to someone professionally. Bruce Allen, the Washington football team executive, about
DeMaurice Smith.
DeMaurice Smith, the NFLPA leader. This would have been, 10 years ago, around the time of the lockout?
Something like that. I don't remember that detail.
I believe that's what it was in regards to, but Gruden's email was leaked, and he had said something along the lines of what did they call it, a racist trough or whatever?
Yeah, it was like a stereotype. He said that DeMaurice Smith had big lips, or he called him like a big-lipped dude or something like that. I don't actually know what exactly he said. He referred to his lips being big, and it's like as a racist thing.
Yeah. So that was bad enough, and it kind of, I don't want to say it went away over the course of the weekend, but he was still coaching, and it was like, oh, okay, so I guess that's it.
We will tolerate racism. Racism is tolerated.
And then when after that, on Monday, during the game, Monday night, last night, all these other emails surfaced from the course of 2011 to 2018 that involve, racism, misogyny, homophobia, all stuff that, like, he's saying through his professional email. So he met with Mark Davis last night, the Raiders owner, and he's resigning. He's basically being fired, but he's resigning. And
you can't fire me. I quit.
Yeah. I don't know if that's whatever. Point being, as it turns out, John Gruden is this massive scumbag, and it's just sending huge shockwaves around the NFL world, because this is a guy, a former Super Bowl winning coach, won the first championship in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history, was a longtime commentator on Monday Night Football, really an icon, someone that you associated with the sport, prototypical coach who loved the game. And this is, I don't know if earth-shattering is the word, because I'm sure some people didn't have a high opinion of him because of the way that he's been, the way that he conducts himself, but this is certainly impactful. And you have to think about someone like Mike Tomlin, who coached under him and won a Super Bowl, maybe even has his job with the Steelers because of that. Tomlin himself said that he was obviously saddened by the sudden fall for his former mentor and head coach. But it's just insane. By the way, he had compared DeMaurice Smith's lips to Michelin tires. He also denigrated Roger Goodell with homophobic language. So,
he also openly questioned the drafting of Michael Sam.
the NFL's first openly gay player, like 5 years ago.
I really wonder, because now there's only, as far as I know, there's only one openly gay NFL player, and guess where he's at? He's in Oakland.
He's with the Raiders.
I was gonna say Oakland. He's in Las Vegas. Yeah, it's Carl Nassib. There might be another openly gay player that I'm not thinking about, but Nassib is the first one that comes to mind, because it was like in the off season, like he came out and stuff. So I kind of feel bad for him, like being on that team. It's like, I don't know, like how I wouldn't understand how it feels to be like find out that the guy that's like running your team was like, yeah, I criticized the Rams for drafting an openly gay player. Like, yeah, that sucks. Like, I feel bad for him, and that's kind of what Mike Tomlin said. He's like, I feel bad for everyone affected. Sucks for everyone.
Yeah, because now they're thrust into the spotlight now, even though they didn't want to be. And once all this stuff was being leaked last night, like I'm sure there were rumblings in the locker room over the weekend, but I guess some people, I don't know, maybe they were at least willing to just be like, whatever, it is what it is. But the thing is, when there's an incident like this, there's never just one. There's more beyond that. So once it became clear that there were all these other things going on, it became obvious that he could never be the coach of this team again, because how could the players ever play for him? How could Carl Nassib ever play for him again? How could any number of other players, how could the African-American players play for him again, knowing...
Hey. Racism was tolerated. It was the homophobia and the sexism that pushed it over the edge.
Yeah. But, regardless, it's just... It's shocking just how quickly it happened, and it's sad that there's going to be a fallout because of all this that people are going to have to deal with, that it really doesn't have anything to do with them.
Yeah, it sucks. And I mean, the Raiders are actually doing decently. Now, this could derail their entire season. Their special teams coach is becoming the interim head coach to take over, but I don't know. It's going to destroy any momentum the Raiders had on the football field. It sucks off the football field for everyone. Just not good. And the thing that we failed to mention is they also exchanged the Washington football team's cheerleaders' nudes, which was like the whole reason that this started. The reason why Gruden was thrust into the spotlight and they found these emails was because it involved Dan Snyder and the Washington football team and the ongoing investigation with that. I still would like to see the information about Dan Snyder himself come out. Like they are protecting him. You're telling me that he did nothing. He's just a saint amongst all this stuff. They're protecting him so he doesn't have to sell the team. I guarantee if any information comes out, it's going to be stuff that makes him have to sell the team.
Could you back up a little bit? Could you remind me kind of what is the cheerleader thing, what the whole Washington thing is all about?
This all started because there was a harassment case about the Washington football team mistreating the cheerleaders, the harassment and forcing them to do things. One of the things was that they made them take nude pictures. Made is, it's basically made. So essentially, it's like, hey, do you want a job? You're going to take a topless picture. Well, I think
manipulated into doing so.
Manipulated, yeah. So it's basically made, not, I guess by definition, not technically they had a choice, but you're being forced to choose your job or do something you don't want to do. Anyway, that becomes investigated, and then a bunch of emails come out about some scumbaggy stuff and harassment with the cheerleaders and stuff. So they have to go through all the emails, and that's how they find John Gruden. John Gruden was emailing his brother and Bruce Allen about
who
this
was
stuff.
The coach there, by the way.
Yeah. So this all comes out, and to think that Daniel Snyder has nothing like this, never. There's nothing going on here other than he forced the cheerleaders to do this in the first place. Like you said, he manipulated them and said basically you have to do it. So there's that. I don't know why they're protecting him. I don't really understand why. He's not even he's not a likable guy regardless. Like he's not liked by a lot of the people in Washington. Want him to sell the team before the scumbaggery came out. It's just because he does stupid stuff and he's a bad owner. Now he's a scumbag on top of being a bad football team owner. So I don't really understand the protection that's going in for him. I mean, I guess there is a chance that he's an angel and was uninvolved in this stuff and it was false. And I don't know, Bruce Allen and the other Gruden brother are the reason for this. But I really doubt it. I mean, it was happening under his watch as well. So
not to mention all the team name stuff that had been going on for years before that.
Yeah, I mean, they've just been propelled into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons.
Routinely, too.
Yeah, and it starts with him. I mean, the best you could say is he was negligent. He was ignorant and negligent. Like, he doesn't know what's happening with his own team. Like, he didn't know what was happening with the cheerleaders. That's, like, the best you could say. He's an idiot. and that's what you hope. You hope he's just an idiot. It's like,
well, and either way, he shouldn't be the owner of the team at that point. Or if he is, he needs to at least be a minority one so that he's less power. But regardless, that's a discussion for another time. Point being, the NFLPA is trying to putting pressure on the league by forcing them to reveal all the emails now. So hopefully they'll comply sooner than later.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think Washington fans deserve it as well. Not like the bad stuff, but for this to be over with, for them to be out, just get it done and move on from this.
Stuff like that. It's not the first or last time that something like this has happened or will happen, and it's just sad because you think about all the people that are in power and can do stuff like this, and it just goes to show you don't really know someone, even though you might have seen them on TV for 13 years every week.
Yeah, it was kind of ironic to see ESPN on Monday Night Football criticizing that it's like
their former friend and coworker.
Yeah, it was your employee too. You hired this man as well. So what high ground are you taking? I would have.
And it partially happened on their watch too.
Yeah, exactly.
Not maybe not officially, but I don't know. Is it really that hard to believe that it happened and people didn't know about it? I don't know.
Some of these emails occurred during his time at ESPN. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, the Raiders cut bait with him just 4 years into a 10-year stint that was not going great anyways, and
yeah,
here we are.
$10 million, 10-year, $100 million contract. Did not work out in that regard, and then what was the other thing? Oh yeah, the Buccaneers removed him from the Ring of Honor today.
Tough scene for Mr. Gruden and his grinders, but the world moves on. The world keeps turning. The circle of sadness, which had been spinning, has grinded to a full halt, though. Let's get into the rest of the slate of games and have some better things to talk about in the NFL today. Let's go to the London game. Did you get a chance to watch any of the game in London between the Jets and Falcons?
I did. I actually had woken up in time, and I got to the bar that I was watching games at, and I got to see the Jets almost come back. I walked in, and there was loud cheers as the Jets got their 2-point conversion, so I got to kind of see from there.
Were you technically morning drinking then?
I did not drink at all. I was just at the bar.
Boo. I'm kidding.
But it was also 11. It was 12 p.m. by the time anyway.
I was going to say you shouldn't be morning drinking, and then you surprised me by saying you didn't, so I was like, I don't know what to say to that. So, by the way, you said you were on a podcast?
I was. I wish.
Tell us about that.
So I was at this bar, a long bar, and this podcast was having their 100th episode. I turned to them because my dad was asking. I was with my dad at this bar, asking what they were doing. I looked and I saw that they had a light, one of those recording lights. I'm like, oh, they're probably podcasting. I'll turn it and ask. I talked to them and stuff, and they're really cool guys. The guy designed a dating app for sports fans, and without knowing how to make an app, and I thought that was cool. I thought that was very cool, and I wish I remember the podcast name. I remember the app name because it's actually a really good name. The app for dating app name is Playing the Field. Absolute great sports name dating app. I thought he did a great job there. It's their podcast was something TV. And it wasn't on Twitch. It was something else. But regardless, anyway, they asked me to come on, talk for a little bit. I talked a little bit about the Steelers. They asked me a little bit about the Jets because one was a Jets fan. They asked me a little bit about the Seahawks without Russell Wilson. And then I played trivia. They were not just dedicated to football, so I kind of got smacked. But I do have to admit on the podcast that I missed a layup question for football. I was asked how many championships did Tom Brady win, and I said, oh, yeah, the Patriots have 6, the same as the Steelers. And as you probably all realized with me saying that, I did not think further, and the answer is 7 because he won a 7th with the Buccaneers, obviously just a year ago. And so that sucked, especially when I clutched up baseball questions. And I still could have won it. It was tied 3-3. And the last question was, how many championships did Michael Jordan win? And I knew it was 6. I didn't get it in fast enough. You know what? I'll say I'm the true winner because you know what the giveaway was for football tickets, but you know what the tickets were? Jets Jaguars. I think I'm truly the winner here.
That missing that layup is like missing Juju 23 yards down the field.
It's true. I need Ben to yell at me and say I need to be benched for someone else.
Oh no, we forgive and forget, but it sounds like it was a lot more fun than the game itself. Honestly, outside of the Kyle Pitts show, this game was nothing really to write home about besides that late comeback attempt.
Yeah, I mean the Jets defense just really failed them. I thought that it was good that the Jets were able to bounce back. I saw the score before I started watching it, and it was like, what was it, like 20-3 or 23-3, something like that, and then it got to like I don't even remember. It was just the Falcons were blowing them out and let them back in the game, but Jets defense fails them, so they can finish it. Jets defense could literally just not stop Cordarrelle Patterson and then Kyle Pitts.
So the Falcons roll to their second straight victory. Elsewhere, starting with the 1 o'clock games, in a game that nobody wanted to win, the Packers finally won after, 5 missed kicks, 4 game-winning attempts missed in a row, including one that saw Evan McPherson for the Bengals hit the flag and thought he made it, but when he actually missed it, and then Mason Crosby finally nailed the game winner. What a lovely and terrible display of the sport we love.
Yeah, I mean, that game was bizarre. It was a real bizarre game, but shout out to the Packers for beating the Bengals for the Steelers. Helps out.
Elsewhere, the poor Detroit. This is the first time in NFL history that a team has lost a game has lost 2 games in the same season where they gave up a 50-plus yard game-winning field goal as time expired, and it happened back-to-back weeks.
Absolutely brutal. Just absolutely brutal. I was already talking smack to my Vikings fan friend because he was talking smack about how the Steelers were letting the Broncos back into it. I'm like, bro, you just lost to the Lions. 37 seconds later, the Lions had lost. So, I don't know whether to feel bad or laugh, do a little bit of both, but just yikes.
The the pain of the Vikings always missing game-winning field goals could not match the pain that Detroit feels by
being Detroit.
Yeah. So, onward and upward. That's a competitive team, though. They will win their games this year.
Yeah.
They're certainly the better of the 2 winless teams this year. How about that?
This is true. This is very true.
Moving on now, the Buccaneers made quick work of the Dolphins, though there was an opportunity for the Dolphins. They were leading, but were unable to capitalize. This game went about how you'd expect after the first quarter.
Yeah, I literally didn't watch it. I went back later, found out my man's Myles Gaskin had a great-ass game, threw 2 touchdowns.
Threw 2 touchdowns.
I meant caught 2 touchdowns. Had 10 receptions. He was lit, but yeah, no, this game went about as I expected. That's why I didn't watch it.
The New Orleans Saints at the Washington football team. Man, Washington, we talked about it at the top of the show. There's no team that feels like they've fallen quite as far as them. They are not a good team at all right now.
They don't even look like they have energy. Did you see that Hail Mary attempt?
Yeah, of course Jameis completes just half of his passes, but 15 of those completions go for 279 yards and 4 TDs, including the Hail Mary.
Yeah, it's just absolutely nuts. Like, I don't understand. Watching that TD, they look defeated. Like, it's just, they're not, like, trying. Like, it really didn't feel like that should have been a completion. I've never seen, like, such an easy Hail Mary in my life. Like, I feel like they just gave up. Like, no one was really trying for it. I don't know what's going on with them.
And it's not even like the Aaron Rodgers Hail Marys will he'll roll out before anyone knew like what he was doing. You remember like 5-6 years ago when they started doing the rollout Hail Marys and it caught the defense by surprise? Those looked easy for Hail Marys. This one looked like uncontested almost. And it was like just a straight up Hail Mary. It wasn't like a rollout. They didn't do anything fancy. It was just straight drop back, launch it up for prayer. And then it was like, okay, Marquez Callaway, I'll go get this one, all right? Don't worry, guys. I got this one.
Yeah, just went up, plucked it, one of the easiest Hail Mary touchdowns you'll ever see.
There was a point on Sunday where this game and the Bengals-Packers game, all four teams had 22 points. That has to be the first time that's ever been the case.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know if that would have ever happened. 22 is not an easy number to get to.
No. Let's move on to an NFC battle between the Eagles and Panthers. The Panthers now, I wouldn't call them in free fall mode, but they're looking more and more like the team we thought they were. They decided to take their best offensive lineman, their only good offensive lineman, Taylor Moton, from right tackle, and they decided, hey, we have one good offensive lineman out of four. Let's have it be 0. Let's flip him to the left side and have Brady Christensen, our rookie, start at right tackle. So instead of having 4 bad offensive linemen, they decided to sabotage themselves and have 5, and the Eagles just absolutely raked. And Sam Darnold looked like the Sam Darnold of the Jets that we are all too familiar with. And Jalen Hurts did just enough for the Eagles to win this one. Pretty unspectacular fashion, but I just thought it was hilarious how the Panthers kind of sabotaged themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they were 3 points behind and threw 3 picks. Like, they really shot themselves in the foot, didn't they? So they could have been better, and I was going to say the same exact thing you did. I was going to say Sam Darnold looked like the Sam Darnold of old, the one that I remember throwing less than 10 yards per completion, and then throwing those 3 picks. Looked awful. Finished with a QBR of 18.4. Hubbard finished with a not productive. He had one long run for 26, but it put him over 100 yards for the first time in his young career, while he makes the most of Christian McCaffrey being injured, likely for one more week.
Sam Darnold, according to PFF, was pressured on 25 of his 40 dropbacks. You're not going to win many games when you do that.
No, I don't think so.
Elsewhere, the Tennessee Titans did, I think, exactly what we thought was going to happen to the Jaguars. It was kind of close early, but Derrick Henry got his, and the Jaguars just didn't have answers. After looking like he turned a corner, Trevor Lawrence looked like the guy he had been before that.
The Jaguars have no idea how to use their players. It's kind of hilarious. Laviska Shenault had 71% snap percentage and got 1 pass at the end of the game in like garbage time. It was one of the sickest catches of the week for how it was run. It was like he was beast moding down the field, 1 catch for 58 yards, but just absolutely do not know how to use their players.
This is a guy, by the way, that should be getting more targets with DJ Chark out. So, like, what gives? Urban, what are we doing, buddy? Yo, think about where this team would be right now. They could have still had Joe Schobert. They could have still had, who else did they trade? C.J. Henderson. They could have still had, they could have picked someone else in the first round besides Travis Etienne. And you know what? You know what I should have said when we were talking about this game, Austin? I should have talked about the 2 best running backs from the 2021 class. That would have been a real shot at them. Because, come on. I mean, Etienne's a fine player, but, I mean, let's be real. He was not the same type of workhorse that a Javonte Williams or Najee Harris could have been.
Yeah. To be fair, Javonte Williams was questionable because he split with Michael Carter, but still. I thought he was the best running back, so.
Still wasn't a first-round pick.
Yeah, it wasn't a first-round pick. I just, like, how does Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault have 2 catches combined in a game where you're up against a really weak cornerback class that's been giving up the most receptions to wide receivers, like the most yardage, and instead you say, you know who's our guy? Jamal Agnew. 6 catches. He's so stupid. Can he just be fired, like, before the next traumatic thing happens, and that's what causes him to be fired?
Tell you what, no one is more thankful for the John Gruden news than Mr. Urban Meyer.
Yeah, it literally gets people to stop talking about him, but he's still so stupid.
Tell you what, one good move they made was trading for Dan Arnold. He has been a good player for them.
I like Dan Arnold. Yeah, I thought that the Cardinals should have retained him, and now with Max Williams out for the year.
Yeah, that's tough.
Definitely sucks.
We'll get to that one too, but in the meantime, let's go to Patriots and Texans. This was a game that made no sense until like the final death. So the Texans starting rookie Davis Mills, not a first-round pick, going up against Bill Belichick, right? That is the easiest slam dunk hammer the Patriots all day long, right? And then the Patriots proceeded to suck for 3 quarters, and the Texans looked like they were going to walk away with the win. And then in the final quarter, the Patriots went on a 10-0 run and were able to steal this game after looking like garbage for most of it. And it just makes perfect sense that Davis Mills sucks ass so much, and then against Bill Belichick as a third-round rookie, goes 21-29 for 312 and 3 touchdowns and looks really good while doing so.
No turnovers either. You look at his wide receivers he had, and it's just not very good. I mean, Brandon Cooks is there, but like his leading receivers was Chris Moore, Chris Conley, and is that David Johnson? I guess it's got to be David Johnson. Those are his top 3 wide receivers, pass catchers, I should call them. So, not. It's just incredible. I don't know what happened this game.
Yeah, just wild. I didn't see any of it outside of the highlights on CBS, but that was one where it was just seemed like a crazy roller coaster.
Yep, all right.
Into the 4 o'clock games, the Raiders losing to the Bears was one of my bigger surprises. Big shout out to Justin Fields, who looked pretty darn good in this one. Khalil Herbert coming out of nowhere in this one, and the Raiders just could not get anything going offensively at all. So, big win for the Bears, who the last 3 weeks have played really good defense, and it's kind of lost on everyone how well the defense played against Cleveland, because Cleveland's defense was doing twice as well against the Bears offense, but the Bears have a sneaky good defense there. They aren't a playoff team, I don't think, but they'll be competitive. They should win 8 or 9 games this year because of it.
Yeah, I mean, they got some good pieces there. They got Eddie Jackson, they got Roquan Smith, they got Khalil Mack, Danny Trevathan.
I was going to say, how happy do you think Derek Carr was to see Khalil Mack again? Khalil Mack revenge game. Oh, how sweet it feels.
Oh, yeah. It definitely felt so good. And then Khalil Mack's just probably happier after seeing what went down with them this weekend. But yeah, overall the Bears did a good job. I thought they slowed down on offense. Like they were doing all right. Like
Took the air out of it.
What?
Took the air out of the ball a little too early. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they had a really nasty second quarter where I was like, wow, Justin Fields actually looks really solid. And then that was kind of like their entire offense. Like, it was those 14 points, and they got 6 in the fourth. So, not a lot down the stretch, but they looked good, and they were good enough to beat the Raiders.
Are you surprised at all that the Bears haven't been using Justin Fields in the design running game more?
Not really, no. It's just, all right, they're scared of getting him hurt, I think.
Maybe one of the craziest games of the year between the Cleveland Browns and the Los Angeles Chargers, a back-and-forth, high-powered offensive game similar to that Thursday night game we saw between the Rams and Chiefs 3 years ago. Lots of going for it on fourth down, being aggressive, and we saw in this one the Chargers were actually in position to win this game and run out the clock. Probably the first instance ever where a running back was pulled into the end zone. The pile was pushed by the team that's trying to not concede points, in theory, by the defense. And Austin Eckler gets pushed into the end zone by the Browns players so that they can get a chance to drive the length of the field with 1.5 minutes left to win the game. And they just couldn't do it. The Chargers hold on to win and are 4-1. Great toe-to-toe battle between Justin Herbert and Baker Mayfield that also featured a lot of bad coverage busts too.
I found it so funny that they were so scared of their kicker that they wouldn't kneel it out. Like, they were at like the 3-yard line, and they're so scared that their kicker was going to miss it that they felt like they had to run with Eckler there. That is hilarious. It worked out for them overall. The Browns didn't get to drive down the field and score, but just incredible that they didn't believe in their kicker.
Who had missed a kick, by the way.
Yeah, so it was fair.
Which, you should assume that if we talk about a game, you should assume they missed a kick on Sunday.
Yeah, it was the record for the most kicks missed in a single NFL week ever.
Not a good weekend for the brand.
No.
Giants and Cowboys didn't see much here other than the freak injury with Saquon Barkley that we already talked about. Oh, Kadarius Toney. That guy can play. Clearly, Joe Judge is an idiot for not playing him, and now Tony's probably not going to play at all anymore because he got ejected from a game. So, Joe Judge will be happy to sit him down now.
Yeah, Tony's good, but he's an idiot. He's a good idiot. He's good at his job. Yeah, I mean, this Giants team, I'm scared for them for next week. I mean, no Saquon Barkley, no Daniel Jones likely. He's concussed. You're out.
He looked bad.
Yeah.
Like it looked like he was not there.
No, I mean, that man stumbled. Like, he didn't know where the heck he was. You're looking at missing almost all the wide receivers. Like, still, it's going to depend on who comes back from injury. Galladay just got hurt again, so he's definitely not back. They're just in trouble. I don't even know who exactly they play next week, but it's going to be tough. Who do they play? They play they play the Rams. Those poor children. Okay. Cover your eyes watching that game if you're going to go watch that game. It's going to be so tough for them. Yeah.
All right. The last 4 o'clock game between the Niners and Cardinals. This ended up being a lot more lower scoring than I thought, but the Niners gutted out another win, and they're still the last unbeaten team in the league, and they showed that they can win in multiple ways, so good for them.
Yeah, I thought the 49ers defense did a good job. They really did the best at keeping Kyler Murray's offense in check. Kyler Murray still had a really good day, but I just think that overall they were pretty effective. I think they did mostly a good job at shutting down the run game. Cardinals don't really have a run game, but, I mean, the 49ers took it away almost completely. Rondell Moore had the longest run of the day for 26. James Conner did not have a good day. He was 10 for 29. He had a touchdown. Chase Edmonds did not have a good day. He was 6 for 15. So just tough running for them, and they weren't really able to get that going to kind of let the 49ers drop back and deal with that. And then Kyler Murray didn't only rushed 7 times for 1 yard. So not good there either.
Probably some kneel downs.
Yeah,
there.
I was going to say some kneel downs took away. But because he had a long run of 10, but just not good from their rushing, but they were able to win regardless. So
I really felt like the 49ers offense felt disjointed, and for a guy that's supposed to be as smart as Kyle Shanahan is, with the guy he handpicked, I was left wanting more. I gotta be honest, this guy gets a ton of praise, and his record with quarterbacks not named Jimmy Garoppolo is like terrible.
Yeah, it's tough.
I don't think he's that good, to be honest with you. I mean, he's a fantastic innovator. I don't know that means he's a good coach.
Yeah, I think
head coach.
I think he does all right. Like he got them. It's just funny, like what he gets his teams to. It's like a Super Bowl, then nothing. Like it just does nothing until he switches team again, and then he's gonna get them to a Super Bowl, and he's gonna do nothing. So, interesting.
And then we got the Sunday night game, a game that I don't know that I thought it was going to be a blowout win for the Bills, but I felt like they were going to win, and I was pretty confident about it. There was a point in this game where Josh Allen had like 7 completions for like 200 yards, and he finished with 315 yards on just 15 completions. Dude was bombing the hell out of the Chiefs' defense out of existence, basically.
Literally.
And the Chiefs just didn't have the answers. The Chiefs have had a lot of good luck and abilities by not turning the ball over in years past, but this year they've had trouble turning the ball over. And I'd say Patrick Mahomes has just looked, by his standards, not good, but overall standing, just average this year. And we talked about how bad that Chiefs defense is, maybe the worst in the entire NFL. And they're lacking depth on offense right now with the rebuilt offensive line. I think this team is better than what they've showed this year, or they will be, but right now it's not a good football team. That's just a fact. They're like 2 plays away. They're the Browns screwing around with a punt, dropping a punt away from being 1-4 right now.
Yeah, which is crazy to think. They're just not very good, and I mean they just lost Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Apparently they're in on Marlon Mack. So Marlon Mack
that'd be a good move.
Yeah, I think I never liked Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think Marlon Mack might even be an upgrade for them. So that would be a good move if they do that. But that's not even where they need help. They need help on defense. they did play this game without their best defensive player, or arguably their best defensive player, in Chris Jones. But I mean, it's still, that doesn't make the biggest difference. Josh Allen was slinging it. I mean, those completions to Dawson Knox and Diggs and Emmanuel Sanders, just absolutely slinging it wherever the heck he wanted it to go. I mean, he played so well.
Are the Bills the favorite in the AFC?
I think so. I mean, the Chargers are the biggest competitor.
I'd pitch the Chargers hat in the ring, and I'd say it's the two of them right now.
Yeah, I think they play later this year, which that would be really
Let me check that for you.
Yeah. Bills versus Chargers. Let's see.
They do not.
Oh, I've been lied to. I thought they did, but
maybe the first time they play will be in the playoffs.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I said it before. The Bills need to go 19-1 on the year, so we can still have bragging rights over them.
Oh, I meant to say, yeah, the Steelers are better than Kansas City, because we beat Buffalo
by proxy.
Yeah, by proxy. So we're better than Kansas City.
Yeah, take that.
Yeah.
Last game of the week, the one we talked a little bit about, the Ravens engineer a furious second half comeback after the Colts looked like they were going to walk away with the win. And the Ravens are able to force overtime, block a kick. The Colts missed a couple field goals, and Lamar Jackson has a fantastic day, leading the Ravens back to a 4-1 record after placing, as we mentioned earlier, the 16th player on injured reserve. Mark Andrews is a beast. And the Colts, yeah, they're a bad team. I think they might lose to Houston next week.
Yeah, they're in a really tough spot with their injuries. It's really bad. I mean, they finished the game with 3 healthy cornerbacks, and I can't even remember their names. One was Bo Pete. So I was like, wow, that name is lit. It's Bo Pete Keys. Let's see if I could even find the other ones. Isaiah Rodgers is number 2. And I don't even remember who the third cornerback was. So, Chesley. Chesley, I remember seeing that name. So, I don't know what his first name is. What is that? Anthony Chesley. So they finished with 3 healthy cornerbacks, and that was like basically from the beginning of the second half. I mean, they lost Xavier Rhodes. They didn't have Kenny Moore coming in. That comeback was written all over it. And then with as I talked about, the unhealthy kicker, it's just really tough to win. I also think one of the stupidest things I heard in that game was John Perry saying that with his full chest that the lateral Darius Leonard had was a forward pass. I forget who the announcer was. It might have been Ian Eagle.
Ian Eagle?
Yeah.
No, because Ian Eagle's on CBS. This was Monday night.
I don't know them, but he's
it's Steve Levy.
Steve Levy. Okay. He's like, you're saying that's a forward pass, John? Like, I've never heard, like, are you blind before so clearly? And he's like, yeah, that's a forward pass. Meanwhile, Darius Leonard literally faced backwards on a slant and threw it backwards from there. That call was so stupid. I mean, it probably worked out in the Colts' favor because they were able to drive downfield and get the touchdown anyway. And it gave them, like, it took time off the clock from what would be Baltimore's comeback, but yeah, I won't lie.
I was just gonna say I love Steve Levy basically saying, "Are you sure you want to say that on live air?"
Literally, I have no idea if the refs agreed. John Perry and the refs agreed. Apparently, that was.
Of course they do.
Yeah, I mean, stupid to me. I will say I was not very impressed with that comeback. That being said, I was like, okay, that's fine.
Oh, here we go now. Here we go. So this was the so there was a huge conversation in our group chat that we have in our fantasy football league.
I will die
about this
on this hill. I just like I really truly don't think a lot of people could put their own team into the situation and think this is impressive. I really don't like. I literally tried for every fan, because we have Giants fan, Bills fan. I said, imagine your bottom 3 cornerbacks on your team being the only cornerbacks you have. That's it. You got a half to score. What was it? It was 22-3. I believe. No, it was 22. No. Am I just all confused? Yeah, it was 22-3. That is correct. That is exactly what it was. You have about a half to score 19 points. That is not impressive to me. Lamar Jackson balled out. He did what he had to do. He did exactly what I would expect of him, even if I don't think he's that good. But it wasn't impressive. I just can't imagine being impressed by if the Steelers only had Ahkello Witherspoon, Justin Lane, and Arthur Millette as their three cornerbacks against Teddy Bridgewater, and that this happened. Would I be impressed by Teddy Bridgewater? No. If this happened against the Bills and it was Dane Jackson, I don't even remember, Cam Lewis was on their practice squad, and I wouldn't be impressed. It's just like that limits a defense so much. Not only are the players you're playing practice squad guys, these are the bottom of the roster, just barely made it. They're not really playing that much. Your scheme is completely messed. You can't have any sets with a fourth or fifth cornerback. Completely takes those out of your thing. You now have to play a backup safety if you want more defensive backs on the field, which I'm sure you've practiced some of them, but how many of those are you going to have? I'm not that impressed. Everyone's like, wow, he's amazing. Like, all right, yeah, he did what he was supposed to. He balled out against a team with three really bad cornerbacks. It's literally if you threw him in like a preseason game, other than the rest of the field not being preseason caliber. The one thing I'll give him is that his wide receivers aren't that good. I mean, I think Marquise Brown gets a little bit more crap than he should. I think he's an okay wide receiver. He definitely has the dropsies, but like that doesn't mean that we didn't sell out on Deontay Johnson because he had the drops. Like, he's still a good wide receiver, and Marquise Brown, when he's making the plays, is good. I mean, he finished really well. Mark Andrews, I don't understand. Like, people are like, this guy's a top 5 tight end, like, just 2 years ago. And, like, yeah, he's kind of cooled off because Lamar Jackson isn't playing at an MVP level anymore, but he's still a really good tight end. Like, I don't get the arguments being made. Sammy Watkins left the game early. I point that out. So he didn't have them either. But yes, this was a big debate because I am just overall not that impressed with Lamar Jackson. He finished with a very good completion percentage. Again, what I expected. The first touchdown he had in the comeback when it was 23-9 was against, I'm pretty sure, Bo Peep Keys, who immediately slipped. And then he had 2 yards of separation because Bo Peep Keys slipped. Like, am I supposed to be that impressed? Like, I don't know if I just get off on hating Lamar Jackson or if I have the biggest brain in the universe. Like, if there's no in between on that. I don't understand. Like, this man breathes and he gets love for it.
I do think you're being a little hard on him, and my main look. I've had my doubts about him too. The Steelers lost a playoff game at home to a team with the coach that wasn't even there, that was starting like nobody. They were starting guys on their offensive line and defensive back room that starters didn't even know about. And yeah, you can talk about Ben Roethlisberger throwing for 500 yards. They still lost by double digits. And I know that there's a lot that goes into that, and he racked up big numbers. But at the end of the day, these are still NFL players. So
this is true.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it wasn't as impressive as, you know, there are other comebacks that are more impressive. I'm just saying that in that situation, your biggest criticism, I feel, from what I understand of him, is when he has to drop back and throw, that's when he's not as good. And yes, against weaker competition, he did that, but isn't that you said he did what he had to do? No,
he did a good job. I don't think he did bad. I think that's what a lot of people like. How is the completion percentage with 37 of 43 bad and 442 yards? It's never going to be bad. He did his job. He did literally the best he could possibly do. I give him that. But again, so if they had 5 bad cornerbacks, my argument completely changed. I think, wow, he really balled out. It's not just the fact that they're bad. It's the fact that their scheme is completely messed up. It's literally what happened to the Ravens 2 weeks ago, where I was impressed that they even beat the Lions because they went into Lions with what? The defensive line of like 2 people and then outside linebackers of 2 people. Ridiculous. They shouldn't have won, and their defense kept them in that game. And the reason they barely won that game, the offense is what kept them out of that game. And it's what made it a game. Their defense did its job. Like, and that was impressive to me. The Ravens defense balling out with 4 players on their defensive line and outside linebacker, crazy. Lamar Jackson throwing for 442 against 3 practice squad cornerbacks that have to play every snap. Because it's not even about a scheme thing either. They have to play every snap. Those boys are going to be tired. Like, they're not used to playing. They're coming in cold. It's just, I can't. I really can't find that impressive.
So by proxy then, you don't think Ben Roethlisberger throwing for 500 yards in that playoff game was impressive either? 500
yards? Not really, no.
No? Okay.
No, I stay consistent. Because it's like, those were backup guys.
So I mean,
did they have more scheme? They didn't. They still had more cornerbacks to field.
But some of them were guys that hadn't even had been with the team for like not even 10 days, as far as I understand.
But they could rotate them off, and they still had the full playbook availability. So I still don't think it's impressive, but again, it's still there's so much going into this. It's not just them being bad, because plenty of teams just have bad players that are starting. It's the fact that they literally couldn't do anything else other than either put more linebackers on the field, which is the opposite of what helps with Lamar Jackson. What we've seen is more defensive backs is what really helps with Lamar Jackson. It's how the Chargers won their playoff game. It's just, which it feels like it makes no sense, but more defensive backs are better. The speed. The speed is better. So now you're literally playing into Lamar Jackson's strength by you're either putting more linebackers on the field, you're putting more defensive linemen on the field, or you're putting more safeties on the field. And their safeties they had 4 safeties too. I don't even know if they were all active. Andrew Sendejo was really bad for the Browns last year, and he's now a Colt. I just... this game made me so mad.
So what... your biggest issues with Lamar are what? You think he gets too much love?
I was at a point, I was finally at Zen. To begin the season, I felt like he had received the proper amount of love and hate, where it averaged out. We're heading back to too much love for the man doing nothing to change it other than balling out against a really depleted defense. Like, I mean, damn. Carson Wentz threw for 402 yards on 25 completions. It's like... one of them was to Jonathan Taylor, so I get into that. But, like, it was against a full defense. Like, are we impressed by Carson Wentz? Of course the fuck not. It's Carson Wentz, and he got 76 yards from Jonathan Taylor. Was it against a full NFL defense, though? Also, yeah, but why isn't Carson Wentz getting love? Because fuck it. Like, I'm so pissed about this. Because Carson Wentz at least threw for 402 yards, didn't have an interception, he fumbled. But so did Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson almost ended this game for his team. Lamar Jackson, before the comeback, had almost ended the game for his team by allowing that run back. So they're even in that regard as well. I can't believe I forgot about that, too. Oh.
All that though on the back that the Ravens actually only had 86 rushing yards in this game, and that streak of consecutive 100-yard rushing games is over. They had to throw the ball in this game.
Yeah.
They still had to throw the ball, and the Colts still knew that they were throwing the ball though.
Yeah.
You're just not buying it, man.
Nope. I'm going to die on this hill. I like I said, I either just have I really get off on hating Lamar Jackson, or I have the biggest brain in the world.
Oh, no, you don't 100%.
Not 100%. I can't get behind it. I like, if he comes in next week, who do the Ravens play? The Ravens play San Diego, I'm pretty sure. San Diego. They play the
Chargers. Yeah.
If they do, it's possible, because the Browns just did it. If he does the exact same thing, I will drop everything, because that's impressive. It's against Derwin James. Asante Samuel Jr. is really good. They actually could field more than 2-3 quarterbacks. And this is coming after the Chargers just gave up so much to the Browns. I would be impressed if he could. If it's not easy to do. What he did is not something that occurs often, which is why he's getting so much love. And to a point, yeah, fair. Again, I think he did a great job. I think he did a good job. I can't get excited about it. I can't be like that was an amazing performance. Like I guess it was like fun. Yeah, it was definitely fun to watch him destroy them. And yeah, again, he did exactly what the best he could do. Doesn't make it impressive. Ugh. I'm gonna die on this hill. I'm gonna go to my grave and say Lamar Jackson is a running back on my deathbed.
So what is it going to take for you to change your mind about this? Not specifically this game, but him in total.
In total?
Like totality, what makes you say, okay, he's a good passing quarterback?
A good passing okay.
Okay, so like I need to know like where, I guess I need to know like what, because I know we know how you feel about him based on what you've been saying, right?
Yeah.
What will change your mind to the point where it's like, okay, he gets the love he deserves when it's at the point it's at right now?
Honestly, just turns over the ball less. That is simply it, because even his greatest attribute leads him to be like a fumble machine and turnover machine. I mean, he threw what? He had 3 turnovers against the Chiefs. He had 3 turnovers against the Raiders. He had 2 in the very next game, I'm pretty sure. I don't want to say wrong things. He might have only had 2 against the Chiefs. Let's see, game by game. We're going to the Raiders. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm pretty sure he had 3 there. And that's why the Raiders won that game. So, in that game, he had no interceptions, but he had, I'm pretty sure, 3 fumbles. He did. He had 3 fumbles, but he only lost 2. So, only 2 turnovers. But he did fumble 3 times, so the potential was there. So, now we're going to the Kansas City Chiefs. They won that game. Did they win because of him, or did they win despite him? Good question. I don't know. It's up to you, I guess. He kept them in it. He got them to get 36 points, so I guess so. But he also had 2 interceptions, and did he have a fumble in that game? No, he just had 2 interceptions. Great, perfect. Moving on to the next game. So 4 picks, 4 turnovers, 2 weeks. Could have been more. But coulda, shoulda, woulda, didn't, so we won't count that against him. Lions literally should be able to destroy this team. It's just not a good defensive team. They've been competitive, but again, his defense did all the work. His defense, that was depleted from COVID, kept them to 17 points with, again, the 4 linebackers, the combination of linebackers and defensive linemen. They played Patrick Ricard back in his original position. Lamar Jackson, 16 of 31. So he threw about like 55%. Had an interception. Not good. Also had a fumble, but he recovered it. So that also won't count against him. 1 turnover on a game that he should have been carrying his team, but his defense carried him. And then it took literally the longest field goal in NFL history to win that game. Okay. So now we're moving on to week 4. Going to the Broncos game. I'm pretty sure the Broncos game was his best game. I don't think I could even say anything bad about it. I think he actually did solid. Yeah, 22 for 37, throwing over 60% completion, 1 touchdown. I don't believe he had a fumble in this game. No fumbles. Good. Ravens game, good. I mean, Broncos game, good. And then, obviously, we're now with the Colts game, which I just went on a whole tirade on why I'm not impressed. What I need to see is him consistently against good teams have a complete game and just not turn over the ball. If he could keep up his running style and not turn over the ball, everything is fine. It just feels like every time I watch him, it's bad. He's fumbling. He's not hitting. Obviously, I've never seen him do good against the Steelers. Not yet. Knock on wood. I mean, who knows what'll happen this year? He'll maybe finally have his first good game against the Steelers where he throws has less than 2 turnovers. But just regardless, it's going to take him not having those turnovers for me to believe in him. Or he's going to have to stop missing those open throws like he's a 39-year-old quarterback playing on a team with no offensive line. He's a, 25-year-old quarterback playing on a team with no offensive line? That has mobility?
He's 24.
24. I need more.
All right. Well, in terms of turnovers, the Adam Driver meme.
Yeah.
In terms of turnovers, okay. While you were talking, I decided to pick up some career statistics. in terms of just interception percentage, because obviously fumbles are a little different because he runs the ball a lot, so he's going to fumble a bit more. So we could talk about that. But in terms of his career interception percentage, I'm going to list you three names right now and their interception percentages throughout their careers.
Okay.
Peyton Manning is 2.7. His 4 years with the Broncos was 2.4.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady, 1.8. In 2 years with Tampa, it's 1.7.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers is at 1.4 throughout his career. Lamar Jackson is at 1.9 right now in terms of interception percentage. So he's not throwing a lot of interceptions.
But we're completely discounting the fumbles, which is his main problem.
Okay, but you talked about turnovers.
I did.
Interceptions are a big part of it.
But now let's compare it to... now we got to go further in the stats. Let's go interception rate by attempt. I guarantee you he shoots to the sky for the attempts.
Interception percentage is based on attempts, though.
Is it?
Yes, it is. Because interception percent is the percentage of times intercepted when attempting a pass. Minimum 14 attempts per scheduled game to qualify as leader.
Wow. Okay. So I admit that, but again, I still go to the point of the turnovers are the biggest problem, but the interceptions, he hasn't been intercepted as much, but those fumbles. Let's go to the career. Can we get a look at the career fumbles?
What we need to do then is go back and find out fumbles that are taking place when he's passing versus running, I think.
I guess so, but yeah, he has 36 career fumbles in 4 years, averaging 9 fumbles per year. Did not start his first year, obviously. He only got to start 5 games, and I guess he got to play in 6 because he entered the game for Joe Flacco. And he, in those 5 games, managed to fumble 5 times. Then next year he played all but one. And I had it backwards. I'm sorry. I apologize. I looked at it completely backwards, so I apologize for that. 2018, he started 7 games and came in for 8. He fumbled 12 times in those games. Now we go to 2020. He played 15 games and fumbled 10 times. Better. Improvement. 2019 MVP year. 15 games started, 15 games played, 9 fumbles. Even better. Now we're at 2021. 5 fumbles through 5 games. Not great. And that's on top of any interception he throws to help the turnovers. Doesn't happen as often as I thought. But in 2020, he's at 2.4, the worst of his career. After destroying the Colts. Oh.
He ranked 10th in the NFL in fumbles in 2019. And he was tied for the lead last year and in 2018. But I don't know how many of these came as a passer or as a runner, because I think that is important.
It's bizarre to me that his interception percentage isn't... I said it was the highest this year. I filtered it by highest and saw 2021, but I was misreading the row. His highest was 2.4 in 2020, which was last year. However, I'm more impressed that through 6 games, with how he just decimated the Colts and threw 40 times, whatever it was, that his interception percentage isn't lower this year than 1.5 than his MVP year. It's at 1.8. It's on about average, I guess, for him, if you could call an average for 4 years. Trash.
So, what is, in closing, what are you wanting out of all of this huge tangent we've gone on?
Okay, so there are 10. We're at week 6, right? So there's 11 games left. No, 12 games because you're counting week 6. There's 12 games left for the rest of the year. For me to consider him good, he needs to do one of 2 things. I already
consider him good.
I already consider him good. I said today that I said he's I think a top 6. I think I ended up with him as a top 6 quarterback, and if you get rid of Deshaun Watson, even Deshaun Watson, lifeless sexual assault body is better still. But I took him off, so I think that put him at 6 after that. So for me to consider him where he's getting the love he's at, in these next 12 games, he needs to have 10 turnovers or less. And I feel like that's not even that bizarre. Like, it's like, that's if you're, I apologize about the dog. If you're a good quarterback, you shouldn't, it makes sense for you to not turn over the ball that much. That's one.
So you're that mad about him being miscast as QB1 when he's realistically, in your mind, QB6?
QB6 or 7,
yeah. You're that frustrated about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will die on this hill. I can't. Like, I respect his running. I will defend it to the end that his running is the best running we've seen from a quarterback ever. Period. He's the best all time in that. And that is what makes him such a very, very good player. However, he's never going to excel as a passer when it's not against a practice squad team.
Alrighty.
I mean, well, I maybe he could prove me wrong. I'm waiting. I'm still waiting for him to show out. A lot of the other Lamar Jackson haters talk about the playoffs, but I don't even care about the playoffs. I literally will sit here and dissect any stat from the regular season and say, this is what happened this game. Think about this. Think about that. I don't think I've ever even complained about his. It's hard to win a preseason. It's hard to win a Pro Bowl. Oh my God! It's hard to win a playoff game. So I don't hold those against him that he hasn't clutched up. It's hard to win a playoff game in the NFL. That is something that most Lamar Jackson haters harp on first. I just think he's, in general, just not... He's a little bit overrated with his passing. A lot of it overrated with his passing.
Alrighty. That half hour of tangent was brought to you by... I don't know.
Lamar Jackson hatred.
Lamar Jackson hatred. All right, let's wrap this one up by talking Thursday Night Football real quick. Buccaneers at Eagles. Philadelphia +7 at home. I like the Eagles +7 here. I think it'll be a close game. Sloppy, but close.
Give me the Bucs to cover. I just don't believe in the Eagles as much as I did in the early season, so give me the Bucs to cover.
All right. Any final words before we wrap this one up?
Kyler Murray is what people want Lamar Jackson to be. That's all I'm saying. I was on the train first, and if Kyler Murray could just pick it up a little bit, he kind of stumbled. He didn't have a bad game. He just didn't have an amazing game. Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson had quote unquote amazing games in their own right, and have both kind of challenged him for the MVP race. So, but I'm just saying, Kyler Murray.
I tell you what. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna finish up and average it out back to what I was saying. It's just Kyler Murray is what everyone thinks Lamar Jackson is.
We should, maybe not right, this week, but soon we should just do our own quarterback rankings. And I'm not a big fan of 1 through 32. I prefer tiers. So how about we do that sometime soon?
Yeah, we could do tiers. I'd be cool with that.
All right then. Well, in the meantime, thank you as always for listening to this episode of the Stronger Than Steel podcast, season 6, episode 29, by the way. If you have any questions about the show, as always, you can email us at strongerthansteelpodcast@gmail.com. You can view or listen to our episodes on YouTube under our podcast name, Stronger Than Steel, or you can check us out on our new home at Anchor, and you can find us at anchor.fm/StrongerThanSteel. Austin, thank you for joining me today, and thank you for that spirited conversation about our favorite quarterback, Lamar Jackson, and maybe we can get some of our friends from the group chat to listen to your spirited rant. Oh Lord,
so I can get roasted even more.
I think we should have an open discussion.
I'm alone on this hill. Everyone wants to sit me down and say I'm wrong, and I will die on this hill. I don't have a problem. Everyone else is the problem.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I don't want to say too much. I mostly just want to listen. I want a dialogue. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Fair. All right. Bye, everybody. Lamar Jackson's a running back.
Until next time, thank you for listening to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with Austin and John.
Bye.
You have been listening to Stronger Than Steel podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to check out our website listed in the description below.